Oh, if it isn't Emily. While looking at craft supplies in the department store with my husband Lucas, our son Aiden, and Aiden's wife Grace, someone called out from behind. Turning around, there stood Amelia, an old friend from high school, with a smile on her face. Amelia was holding the hand of a little boy. Amelia, it's been a while. Is this your grandson? Yes, this is Oliver, my lively 3-year-old grandson. Amelia squinted her eyes and gently patted her grandson's head. Oh, your grandson, Oliver, goes to the same childcare center as Emily's, doesn't he? Eh? We don't have any grandchildren yet. In front of Grace, who has difficulty having children. Please, let's not talk about grandchildren. Thinking this, I tried to change the subject. Eh? But that's your son, right? Amelia pointed at Aiden and said, Yes, that's our son Aiden. And this is his wife, Grace. Over there is my husband, Lucas. Everyone nodded to Amelia, but her gaze stayed fixed on Aiden. You pick up someone from Sunny Days Childcare, right? Amelia spoke to Aiden with a serious face. Aiden looked perplexed. Could it be a mistake? Aiden and Grace don't have any children yet. I tried to correct Amelia, but she shook her head. You sometimes pick up Mia, right? Oliver loves Mia and often talks about her at home. Mia? Who's that? Looking at Aiden, he started to tremble with his head down. Lucas and Grace looked at Aiden and Amelia with suspicion. Grandma, I need to go to the bathroom. Oh, we better hurry then. See you later. Pulled by Oliver, Amelia ran off towards the restroom. What's going on? Grace murmured in a tone I had never heard before, glaring at Aiden. Aiden remained silent with his head down. Returning home in silence, everyone except Aiden sat on the sofa. Aiden just stood near the living room door. Aiden, explain. Lucas's deep and stern voice filled the room. Finally, Aiden started talking. My name is Emily. I married Lucas, who is 5 years older than me, through a friend's introduction. When we were dating, I, who enjoy crafting, gave Lucas a pair of gloves I made myself for the first time as a present. Is this really handmade? Thank you. I'll cherish it, Lucas said, and from the next day, he began wearing the gloves to work. Half a year later, we got married, and Lucas continued to use the gloves I gave him for the next winter, and the winter after that. You've been using them for 3 years now. Let's get you a new pair. Then make me another pair. Since then, making gloves in Lucas's favorite pattern has become my event every few years. After our son Aiden was born, I started making matching gloves for Aiden as well. It's nice to have the same as Dad. Yeah. Aiden, who used to happily accept them, refused to wear his mom's handmade gloves when he became a middle schooler. I don't need gloves. It's not cold. Don't say that. Mom's gloves are really warm. Well, it's just that age. It's enough if Lucas uses them. Even though I stopped making gloves for Aiden, I continued to make them for Lucas. Aiden started living on his own when he went to college, and after getting a job, he began living an hour away from our house. We weren't on bad terms, but Aiden rarely contacted us, and he wouldn't come back to his parents' home unless we invited him. When Aiden was 23, he unexpectedly called. Mom, I'm coming home this Sunday. Will Dad be there? Oh, what's up? Dad doesn't have any plans and should be home. I'll be there around 2 p.m. I have someone I want to introduce. After saying that, Aiden hung up. Someone he wants to introduce? Hey, Lucas! My heart racing, I called for Lucas. What's the matter? Why are you yelling? Aiden said he's bringing someone he wants to introduce this Sunday. Lucas was momentarily surprised, but quickly cleared his throat and said,
Aiden's only 23, right? He's just getting used to work, and I'm not sure if he'll bring someone you're expecting, Emily.
Do you think so? I have a feeling he'll bring a wonderful woman. Despite Lucas's half-amused, half-exasperated reaction, I counted down the days to Sunday. And then the long-awaited Sunday arrived. After 2 p.m. passed and I was getting restless, I heard Aiden's voice from the entrance. I'm home.
Welcome back.
Trying to appear calm, I went to the entrance and saw a petite, cute woman standing next to Aiden. This is Grace, I'm dating her.
Nice to meet you. I've been seeing Aiden for a year now.
Nice to meet you. Please come in. Dad's waiting in the living room. Peeking into the living room, Lucas was unnaturally opening the newspaper, waiting for Grace to greet him.
Nice to meet you.
Make yourself at home. Lucas, clearly nervous as he stood up, was amusing to watch.
This is something I made, if you'd like.
Grace handed over a coaster.
It's beautiful. My favorite orange and Lucas's favorite blue. I asked Aiden about your favorite colors.
Looking closely at the coaster, initials were written on the edge. Grace, is crafting your hobby? I asked, feeling delighted.
Yes, I love crafting.
Grace smiled warmly. I like it too. It's nice to have a hobby in common.
It's not just a hobby. Grace is making a name for herself as a handmade artist.
I'm grateful to be able to make my hobby my work, Grace said with a smile. Perhaps the knit vest and earrings Grace was wearing were also handmade. Thinking that Grace's gentle aura came from wearing handmade items made me happy. We both love crafting, and that got us really excited. Grace shared all sorts of information about crafting supplies. Did you know this store has sales every 20th of the month? And on their website, they even sell yarns in colors like these.
You're a pro, Grace. Keep those tips coming.
Of course. While we were chatting, Lucas and Aiden were quietly listening in. Sorry for hogging the conversation. I knew this would happen, Aiden said with a laugh. Before we knew it, it was time for Aiden and his friend to leave.
Grace is such a nice person. I wish she'd marry soon.
That night, I couldn't help but gush to Lucas. Can you believe Grace is the same age as Aiden, 23, and yet so mature? If she became Aiden's wife, I'd be relieved. Lucas laughed as he said this, looking at me. What?
Aiden bringing someone who loves crafting. You must be special to him.
I was a bit shocked when he said he didn't need any more gloves, but I'm glad he appreciates handmade things. Both Lucas and I were looking forward to Aiden and Grace getting married. And as if they knew our wishes, their marriage discussions progressed rapidly, and they got married 6 months later. Aiden and Grace started living in an apartment 20 minutes away by car from us. Grace worked on her creations at home, handling everything from production to sales, and she seemed busy all the time. Even if it's a labor of love, it seemed hard. So, using the excuse of making too much food, I often brought dinner over to Aiden's place. Emily, thank you so much. I'm sorry I haven't been much of a wife since we got married. Grace looked apologetic. It's okay. Housework should be done by those who can. We're glad you live close by, so feel free to rely on us. After saying this, Grace expressed her gratitude. Thank you. I finally feel like my work is catching the wave, so I think now is the time to really push myself. Oh, Emily, good timing. Then Grace, from the back of the room, fetched a pair of new earrings to show me. Seeing Grace talk about her creations with such passion was dazzling, and I felt a renewed desire to support her. It's often said there's a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law conflict, but that was foreign to us. We would go out to eat or shop together, and I thought of Grace, who shared my interests, as if she were my own daughter, and Grace had opened her heart to me. Of course, we had been living happily up until now, but becoming a family with Grace thanks to Aiden's marriage allowed me to spend my days in joy and fulfillment. 2 years flew by since they got married. They are both now 28. Aiden and Grace are doing well in their jobs, have a good relationship with each other, and get along with me and Lucas. While everything seems to be going well, the couple did not have children yet. Once, I asked Grace about having children. Then Grace apologized. "I'm sorry. I took our youth for granted, but it turns out I have a condition that makes it hard to conceive. I know you're eager to see a grandchild, and I'm sorry." "I'm sorry too. Don't stress too much about it. What I wish for the most is for Aiden and you to live happily." I had assumed they were prioritizing their careers over having children. To Grace, who was feeling anxious about not being able to conceive, what had I done by asking her that? For a while, I was tormented by self-loathing. Perhaps out of consideration for me, Grace invited me to lunch again as if nothing had happened.
"When I do get pregnant, you'll be the first to know."
Grace said this with a bright smile. Grace is much more grown-up than I am. Since then, I never brought up the topic of children with Aiden or Grace again. One day, I got a call from Grace.
"Emily, there's a new craft store in the next town over. Do you want to go check it out with me?"
Thanks for the invite. I'd love to go. The next day, we headed to the new craft store.
"Can we stop by the department store too? I'm thinking of buying Aiden's birthday present."
Oh right, Aiden's birthday is the day after tomorrow. It's so nice of her to prepare a birthday present for Aiden. He's lucky. Hearing Grace's words, I decided to buy something for Aiden as well. After we both bought presents for Aiden, we were hungry, so we went to a cafe. While eating cake, Grace had a bright idea.
"How about we throw a surprise party for Aiden's birthday, if it's convenient for you and Lucas?"
That sounds great. Let's do it at our house. I'm free during the day, so I can prepare the food and everything.
"Thank you. I'll get off work early and help with the preparations."
Thinking back, even though I've sent Aiden birthday texts since he moved out, we haven't celebrated in person in over 10 years. Just the thought of a surprise party was exciting. Aiden really married someone wonderful. And thank you, Grace, for caring so much for Aiden. I watched Grace innocently enjoying her cake with a smile. By the way, Aiden has been busy with work lately and coming home late.
"Is that so? Will he be able to come home early the day after tomorrow?"
We were worried. I'll ask him subtly, so he doesn't suspect anything.
"Thanks. Let me know if you need anything, Grace. You're busy too." After that, we went shopping for party supplies like wine and food, and then parted ways.
2 days flew by, and today is Aiden's birthday. I sent Aiden a happy birthday message in the morning. According to Grace, he shouldn't be too late today, so I started preparing for the party right away.
"Lucas, we're having Aiden's birthday party today, so come home early, okay?"
You're really going all out, aren't you? Lucas laughed, looking at the garlands I was arranging on the table for decoration.
"Well, it's been over 10 years since we've had a party for Aiden's birthday."
Are you making the cake, Emily?
"That's the plan."
I can't wait. Aiden loves your cakes. With that, Lucas left for work. Aiden, who doesn't like whipped cream, always had my homemade cheesecake. He was always so happy when I decorated the cake with icing cookies of his favorite character, bringing back those memories. Today, I have to make sure we give him a big surprise. I'm getting really excited. I checked my phone from time to time while preparing, but there was no reply from Aiden. I wonder if he's that busy with work. Even though I was worried, I continued with the food preparations. Around 4 p.m., Grace arrived at our house.
Sorry I'm late. Wow, it smells great. Do you think so? Isn't it a bit childish?
On top of the baked cheesecake, I had decorated it with icing cookies of a character Aiden used to love. Grace looked at the cake and smiled.
Aiden still has this character's figure on display. He'll absolutely love this. Really? Hasn't grown up at all, has he?
With that, we laughed.
Let's get everything ready at once.
We split up the tasks, some of us cooking and others decorating the room. By 6 p.m., Lucas came home. In Lucas's hand was a paper bag tied with a ribbon.
Lucas prepared a gift, too.
I'd feel left out if I didn't.
I hope Aiden gets back soon.
I sent Aiden a message, but no reply yet. He must be rushing to finish up work. Everything was ready. All that was left was waiting for the guest of honor. The three of us watched TV and chatted while waiting for Aiden to return. But no matter how long we waited, Aiden didn't come back.
It's already 8 p.m. I'll give him a call.
Grace tried calling, but Aiden didn't answer the phone. However, Aiden called back shortly after. Talking to Aiden, Grace's face suddenly turned gloomy. After hanging up, Grace let out a big sigh and said, "I'm sorry. Aiden has to stay at the office tonight."
What?
It was such a surprise that he had to stay at the office on this particular day. "I'm sorry. After you all prepared so much." Grace looked down apologetically. Seeing Grace like this, Lucas cleared his throat and said, "It's his job, can't be helped. He's 29 now, entrusted with responsible tasks."
You're right. I'm glad he's grown into such a respectable adult. Let's reschedule the party. You must be hungry, right? Let's eat.
Though it was disappointing that the guest of honor wasn't there, the three of us still enjoyed the delicious food and cake, having a reasonably good time. My gaze drifted to the three presents lying on the sofa. "I want to give Aiden his birthday presents. You free on the weekend?"
Sometimes I have to work on Saturdays, but Sundays are always off for me. Let me ask.
Grace texted Aiden, and a reply came quickly.
Aiden says Sunday seems fine. Told them it's a surprise, so we're going out for a meal with the four of us.
Thank you. Let's celebrate grandly this time. I can picture Aiden's embarrassed face when he receives his present. I know a place with a great atmosphere where I went with my colleagues. I'll book it.
Thank you.
I couldn't wait for next Sunday. And then, the Sunday of the birthday party redo. At 10 a.m., Aiden and Grace came to pick us up. Is it okay if we stop by a department store near the restaurant? There's something I want to buy.
Our reservation is at 12 p.m., so let's go to the department store first.
So, we decided to stop by the department store before our meal.
Oh, if it isn't Emily.
While looking at craft supplies, someone called out from behind. Turning around, there stood Amelia, a friend from high school. Smiling with a little boy holding her hand.
Amelia, long time no see. Is this your grandson?
Yes. This energetic little guy is Oliver, he's 3. Amelia squinted her eyes and gently patted her grandson's head. Emily, your grandson is in the same childcare center as Oliver, right?
Aw. We don't have any grandchildren yet.
I hoped Amelia would drop the subject of grandchildren, not wanting Grace to feel uncomfortable.
Wait, but that's your son, right?
Amelia pointed at Aiden. Yes. This is our son Aiden, and this is his wife Grace. And this is my husband Lucas. Everyone nodded to Amelia, but her gaze stayed on Aiden.
You're picking up from Sunny Day's childcare, aren't you?
Amelia spoke to Aiden with a serious face. Aiden looked puzzled.
Could it be a mistake? Aiden and Grace don't have any children yet.
I tried to reason with Amelia, but she shook her head.
Sometimes they come to pick up Mia, right? My Oliver, he adores Mia, talks about her all the time at home.
Who's Mia? Looking at Aiden, he began to tremble, looking down. Lucas and Grace also watched Aiden and Amelia with a puzzled look.
Grandma, I need to go to the bathroom. Oh, we better hurry then. See you later.
Pulled by Oliver, Amelia ran off towards the bathroom. A tense silence fell over us who were left behind.
What's going on?
Grace murmured at Aiden with a voice lower than I've ever heard, glaring at him. Aiden, still looking down, said nothing. Lucas took out his phone and started making a call. I'm sorry, due to some circumstances, we have to cancel. We will definitely pay the cancellation fee later. Lucas apologized repeatedly and hung up the phone. Make sure to pay the cancellation fee to the store, Lucas said to Aiden and started walking. I followed behind Lucas, then Grace, and Aiden trailed behind us, keeping his distance. We returned home in silence, and everyone but Aiden sat on the couch. Aiden just stood near the living room door.
Aiden, explain yourself.
Lucas's deep and firm voice filled the room. Aiden remained silent, looking down. Lucas stood in front of Aiden.
Hand over your mobile phone now.
Aiden stared at Lucas's outstretched hand.
Hurry!
Overwhelmed by Lucas's presence, Aiden, with tears in his eyes, handed over his mobile phone. Lucas fiddled with Aiden's mobile phone for a while, sighed deeply, and for a moment, turned a pained expression our way. Lucas, let me see too. With a resolved look, Grace approached Lucas and extended her hand. I'm sorry. With those words, Lucas handed Aiden's mobile phone to her. Grace kept fiddling with his mobile phone, expressionless. Then, still without showing any emotion, tears started to roll down Grace's cheeks. Seeing those tears made both Lucas and I feel terribly uncomfortable.
Who is this Harper woman exactly? Explain it with your own words.
Finally, Aiden, who had been silent all along, began to speak.
What Mom's friend said is true.
And what about this Mia?
She's my child with Harper.
The moment Aiden's words were spoken, Grace burst into tears. I hugged Grace, rubbing her back while glaring at Aiden.
How old is this Mia? How long have you been cheating?
Lucas bombarded Aiden with one question after another, causing him to hang his head in shame. According to Aiden, Harper, the woman he cheated with, is a 25-year-old office worker and a college friend. He had been involved with Harper before meeting Grace, and the relationship continued even after he started dating Grace. It seems he thought about stopping the affair once he got married, but that's when Harper's pregnancy came to light. Harper had told him there was no need to marry, but then demanded hospital fees, and after the child was born, she started calling him over to take care of the child. From what was said, it seemed like Aiden was just being conveniently used by Harper, but creating a child with an affair partner in the first place is utterly inexcusable. I also felt responsible for raising Aiden to end up in such a situation. The money you've been giving Harper, it's coming from my savings, isn't it? Grace muttered.
Is that true?
Aiden, under Grace's stern gaze, nodded guiltily. Creating a child with an affair partner and then stealing Grace's money to give to her. This reality, far beyond imagination, almost made me collapse.
So, the reason you've been coming home late recently is because you've been busy with that other family?
Aiden didn't deny Grace's words.
Recently, Harper has been coming home late, and I've been asked to pick up Mia.
Since Harper started working full-time this year, I've been picking up Mia more often as a substitute.
During your last birthday, you were with this family, weren't you?
Sorry. Aiden apologized, but we couldn't possibly forgive him for that. Lucas furiously threw the birthday present into the trash can.
From now on, stay away from us. Get out of here.
Oh no. Both Lucas and I, along with Grace, quietly endured until Aiden left. After a while, Aiden said, "I'm really sorry," and left. As soon as the front door closed, I stood up and deeply apologized to Grace. Lucas came right next to me and apologized in the same way. "I'm really sorry for the foolish thing Aiden did."
It's not your fault, Lucas and Emily. Rather, thank you for being with me. If I had been alone when I found out about this, I think I would have broken down.
Grace's words pierced my heart.
You're going to divorce Aiden, aren't you?
Yes, I will divorce him. Grace looked into our eyes and answered clearly. We firmly accepted her answer.
I know a great lawyer. I'll introduce you to him, so make sure to claim your compensation in the divorce proceedings.
Grace was surprised by Lucas's words.
Grace, even if you divorce Aiden, we'll always consider you our daughter. Please rely on us if you need anything.
Hearing my words, Grace's eyes filled with tears and she said,
Lucas, Emily, I was able to have a wonderful time because I met you too. Thank you.
Grace's life changed drastically in just a few hours, but we solemnly vowed to continue watching over her. Grace promptly started the divorce proceedings with the lawyer Lucas introduced. In the divorce settlement, in addition to the alimony, it was agreed that Aiden would pay Grace $30,000, combining this with the money Aiden had unilaterally spent from Grace's savings. Furthermore, initially, Grace did not intend to claim any settlement money from Harper, who was in the midst of parenting, but eventually decided to claim $10,000.
Did something happen? Because the child is innocent, I thought it would be better for him to spend the money on the child rather than pay me. But then she claimed that she, being the mother of the child, was the rightful wife.
It seems Grace's anger finally erupted at Harper, who showed no remorse.
I didn't hesitate to claim it.
To think that Aiden had an affair with such a person. Grace felt anew that forgiving Aiden was indeed impossible. Thanks to her lawyer, Grace was able to smoothly receive the settlement money from both Aiden and Harper, and then proceed with the divorce. Aiden chose to live with Harper and Mia, while Grace moved to a different place.
Come visit us anytime. We think of you as our daughter.
On the day before the move, I conveyed this to Grace, who had come to say goodbye.
Thank you so much for everything. I'll be in touch.
Grace was a bit nervous, but she showed her best smile at the end. I figured the promise to contact us was probably just a polite formality. That's what I thought somehow. It's understandable. Even if she doesn't hate us, seeing us would unavoidably remind her of Aiden, who betrayed her.
Even if we can't see you anymore, we will always wish for your happiness.
I whispered quietly as I watched Grace's retreating figure. And then a year later. I haven't been in contact with Aiden, whom I disowned, but rumors say he officially married Harper half a year ago. However, as soon as they married, Harper quit her job without consulting anyone and became a housewife. Moreover, with Harper's spending habits controlling the finances, they were forced into a poor lifestyle, and it seems their marital relationship is already at its worst. Despite hearing such stories, I felt no sympathy for Aiden. More importantly,
should be arriving soon, right?
calm down a bit, Emily.
Even Lucas has been glancing at the clock nonstop.
At that moment, the doorbell rang. Hello. We headed to the entrance, maintaining our composure. There stood Grace.
Happy birthday, Grace.
Thank you. Something smells good. Grace laughed. Today is Grace's birthday. She came over after we invited her for a party. The words Grace had said a year ago weren't just pleasantries after all. A while later, Grace contacted us saying, "Shall we go buy some crafting supplies?" Grace continued to treat Lucas and me as before, which was a relief to us, and Lucas was happy to have a daughter in place of a son. I made your favorite tiramisu.
I can't wait to eat it.
Grace cheered.
Grace, if you'd like, here's this for you.
Lucas handed Grace a small bag.
What is it? Let me open it. Wow, how cute!
Grace cheered again. Out of the bag came a pink bear plushie.
Did Lucas make this?
Lucas nodded, somewhat embarrassed. Actually, a month ago, Lucas came to me with my crafting book and asked,
"Think I can make this?"
Without him saying anything, I knew it was meant to be a gift for Grace. For a month, with my advice, Lucas crafted this pink bear plushie. The differing sizes of the ears on either side made it all the more endearing.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy.
Seeing Grace's gentle smile, both Lucas and I felt incredibly happy. Of course, Mom and Dad get the biggest room. If you defy that, it's divorce, remember? You're my wife, so don't you dare defy us. Oscar jests.
You should be fine with the storage room. Giving you a big room is just a waste.
Grace adds with a chuckle. Considering we're letting someone else live under our roof, you should just be grateful for that. Marshall remarks humorously. The words of my husband Oscar, mother-in-law Grace, and father-in-law Marshall leave me feeling dizzy. It's true that Oscar and his parents have stubbornly refused to accept me as family, subjecting me to cruel treatment. But this is too much. After all, I was the one who found this house. Despite their numerous requests to move, they did nothing. So, at the end of my patience, I took time out of my busy work schedule to visit a real estate agent and found us a good home. Yet, they act as if it's only natural for me to devote myself to them. They believe I'm not even family and I should just be grateful for being allowed to live in the same house with them. I can't keep trying anymore. I've strived to become a true part of the family. But at this moment, I've reached the end of my tether. My name is Jessica, a 38-year-old housewife. I live with my husband. I met Oscar through a friend's introduction. After a relentless pursuit from Oscar, we started dating. And from there, everything progressed smoothly to marriage. After our wedding, we moved close to his parents' home. The move was spurred by the news of Marshall hurting his back. While Marshall wasn't in need of constant care, his mobility was limited enough to require assistance for longer trips. So we settled nearby in-laws' house to give them a ride when they needed and visit them regularly to check in. Initially, my in-laws seemed appreciative of our efforts. As Oscar's wife, I wanted to support them. With that sentiment, I did what I could while juggling a busy work schedule. However, as time passed, my in-laws' attitude drastically changed. Jessica, when are you going to quit your job? A married woman working, it's hurting Oscar's reputation. Why not just quit and become a housewife? They suggested. My in-laws had always seemed dissatisfied with my continued work post-marriage. Perhaps in their time, it was the norm for a married woman to quit her job. But such a mindset is painfully outdated. Grace, these days, it's perfectly acceptable for married women to continue working. You know, retirement inevitably requires money, right? I want to keep working to ensure we don't face hardships in the future. I earnestly respond to Grace's words. As we age, living off a pension alone becomes an increasingly difficult proposition. That's why I believe it's important to work and save while we still can. But Jessica, isn't it because you're working that you and Oscar don't have time for intimacy? You're already 38 and he has crossed 40. It's troubling for us if you can't even provide a grandchild. She argues. It's true that we don't have children. But it's not for a lack of trying. We've done what we could, and yet here we are. Harsh words and cold glances from my in-laws leave me feeling terribly uncomfortable. Could it be that I'm the one at fault? Should I have quit my job and focused on starting a family? I feel restless, troubled by the thought that I might be doing something wrong. It was around this time that my in-laws' behavior noticeably deteriorated. They treated me as if I wasn't part of the family. And this attitude, like a contagious disease, spread to Oscar as well. Initially, the changes were minimal. Ignoring my attempts to communicate, or Oscar and his parents going on trips without me. I questioned such actions, but thinking it unwise to dwell on them too much, I let them be. That only led to worse behavior. Returning from work one day, I found Oscar drinking in the living room. Not wanting to disturb his evening ritual, I quietly entered and started tending to some household chores. Then he let out a heavy sigh.
What's this about you leaving the house empty till this hour because of work? Mom, even when she was tired from chores, was always by my side at this time, never making me feel lonely. A wife that makes her husband feel lonely is failing her role.
He lamented. He often compared me to Grace. Every time I made a mistake, he would point out how Grace would have done it, lecturing me on how inadequate I was as a wife. I'm sorry for making you feel lonely. I'll be more mindful from now on. I replied. Challenging Oscar in these moments only led to more intense anger and worse situations. Drawing from past experiences, I refrained from arguing and quickly apologized. Perhaps my action was interpreted as an admission of guilt, as he continued with even harsher words.
Listen, the only reason you can still work is that Mom and Dad are kind. But I won't be as kind to you like them. Quit your job quickly and become a housewife. It's time to stop being so selfish.
I've been told to quit my job time and again. Why do I have to hear such things? I'm working with the future in mind, so why must that be dismissed? He really seems to dislike that I don't conform to his wishes. Sometimes, I even feel like I'm not treated as part of the family. But still, I've persevered. In the midst of these challenging days, he came up with a suggestion. He wanted us to live with his parents.
They won't stay healthy forever, right? They might get injured while we're away. To be there for them immediately if that happens, I think living together is necessary.
This single statement moved his parents, proud of their thoughtful son. But for me, it felt like just another source of distress was being added to my life. And to make matters worse, although they spoke of wanting to live together, they never took any action to make it happen. It was always left up to me.
You're always so unhelpful, so the least you could do is make an effort for the family,
Oscar said. He instructed me to find time amidst my busy work schedule to visit real estate agents and look for a house suitable for us to live together. Honestly, it was a particularly busy period for me, and finding the time was a real struggle. But somehow, I managed and found a potential property. When I showed the details to them, their reaction was surprisingly positive. We decided to visit the house that weekend. I managed to take a day off work for it.
It's really spacious and nice. I think Mom and Dad can really relax in this house,
he remarked. Guided by the real estate agent, we walked through the house. The house was large enough to offer a room for each of the four of us, with spare rooms for guests. While checking out each room, Oscar and his parents discussed what each room could be used for. I trailed behind, quietly observing their excited chatter. It seemed we had finished touring the last room. They seemed convinced by the house after the viewing. I felt relieved, thinking the move might go smoothly after all. But reality was far more cruel.
Of course, Mom and Dad get the biggest room. Defy that and it's divorce, remember? You're my wife, so don't you dare defy us,
Oscar said, startling me. His utter disregard for me and his selfish decision-making for his parents left me stunned. Then, as if to add insult to injury, Grace chimed in.
You should be fine with the storage room. Giving you a big room is just a waste.
And then Marshall continued, reinforcing their words.
Being grateful for letting an outsider live in the same house, that's the least you can do.
He adds, divorce threats, being told the storage room is enough, and being called an outsider. These words, unthinkable from a family, make my head spin. I had a feeling, but now it's clear, I was never truly seen as family. After all the effort I put into finding a house for them. And yet, to be treated like this is unimaginable. The anger I had kept deep inside is now surging to the surface. I can't keep trying for them anymore. In fact, I feel an urge to make them thoroughly regret taking my feelings for granted. With that resolve, I decided to rebel against their selfishness. Unaware of my feelings, they were excited about the new house. Taking a deep breath to calm myself, I spoke my mind.
Then it's divorce. I found that house in between my busy work schedule, and this is how you treat me? I've reached my limit. I can't be part of this family anymore.
I stated it clearly. Continuing as a family with them was absolutely impossible. I had reached my breaking point. Then,
what?
At my words, they could only utter. Oscar, in particular, was so shocked that his face turned pale.
Jessica, are you serious? Who else would accept someone as worthless as you other than him? If you divorce here, you might end up alone forever.
Grace said. Calling someone worthless, that's what I'd like to say to them. Who has been trying hard for them all this time? They seemed to have forgotten all that, and I couldn't help but sigh. Whatever, do what you want.
I never accepted you as family anyway. If you're going to leave, I'd prefer you do it quickly, Marshall stated.
Even after getting married, he stubbornly refused to accept me as family. Perhaps that's why he seems okay with the idea of divorce. It's almost a relief that he's not trying to stop me unnecessarily. The in-laws didn't try to hold me back. Only Oscar seemed somewhat uneasy, but having brought up divorce first, he seemed unable to say anything and just shifted his gaze uncomfortably. Taking their lack of resistance as an opportunity, I started preparing to leave the house. For the time being, it looks like I'll be staying in a weekly rental apartment. The thought of finally being free from the troubles named Oscar and his parents made me feel a sense of liberation. As I finished packing my things and was about to leave the house the next day, I thrust the divorce papers in front of Oscar. Of course, I'm fully intent on divorcing, so I had filled out everything in advance, leaving only the part for him to complete. Hearing the news, the in-laws also came to our house. Despite their calling me ungrateful upon seeing my determination to divorce, I won't be family anymore, so their petty remarks no longer matter to me.
Are you really going through with a divorce? You can still change your mind.
Oscar finally spoke. But he hesitated to sign the divorce papers, leaving me in a bind. We continued living under the same roof for a while, but as time passed, his behavior changed, frequently questioning if this was really what I wanted. Honestly, this is nothing but a hassle.
Yes, I really intend to divorce. What, getting cold feet now? Forgotten what you've done? After behaving like that, you don't get to say you don't want a divorce now.
I say firmly. His behavior almost seems like he doesn't want a divorce. But such an attitude is inconvenient for me. I've been looking forward to this day, to be freed from them. And I don't want to waste any more time here. Questioning his indecision, Grace raises her voice.
He wouldn't get cold feet over something like this. Even with a woman as worthless as you, kind-hearted Oscar can't just abandon you. Oh, poor thing. You shouldn't bother yourself with such a woman.
With that, Grace strokes his back. But his expression only grows more severe. I sense that Grace's words are only pushing Oscar further to the edge, but I keep that to myself and just smile.
Right. Oscar wouldn't say he doesn't want a divorce now, after he initiated it. You really know him well, Grace.
I say, my words dripping with irony because I know full well that Grace doesn't understand his feelings at all.
Yeah, that's right.
Oscar nods in a shaky voice. At this point, there's no escaping. The in-laws' eyes are fixed on him, making sure he doesn't back out. So, without rushing him, I wait for him to fill out the divorce papers.
Oscar, just sign it already. There's no need to spend another moment with such an ungrateful woman. Kick her out and start living with just the family. You need to hurry up with the new house too, or someone else might take it.
Marshall urges. Even after deciding on our divorce, Oscar and his parents prepared for moving into the new house. Especially the in-laws, they were so eager to live in that house, they had even spoken to the real estate agent about buying it. The house's ownership will likely be in Oscar's name. The in-laws, already living on pensions, certainly can't afford to pay a mortgage. From now on, Oscar will have to support his parents all by himself.
Marshall's right. Once Oscar signs, it's all over. You can get rid of a wife who wouldn't become a housewife and was too absorbed in her work. So hurry up and sign. I press, growing impatient with the delay. Oscar hesitates, but when Marshall adds pressure with a stern Oscar, he can't resist and shakily signs the divorce papers. Now we can kick out an outsider, Grace says, smiling happily at the fully filled out divorce papers. Marshall praises Oscar, well done, but his face remains pale throughout. I understand why he looks so troubled. The in-laws may be pleased with my divorce from him, but the truth is, the divorce will put him in a difficult situation. At that moment, Oscar had uttered the word divorce in a burst of impulse, never truly intending to go through with it. It was meant only as a threat to me. He probably never imagined I would take the divorce talk seriously. And yet, here we are, with the divorce papers signed, and he is overwhelmed with uncertainty about the future. However, his parents, oblivious to these circumstances, kept pressing him to go through with the divorce. Caught between his parents' demands, he had been troubled up to this day. Now that he has signed the divorce papers, we are strangers to each other. The future life of them is of no concern to me. But seeing him, pale-faced and forcing a smile for his parents, looking utterly miserable, I felt a pang of pity. Maybe it's time to give his parents a dose of reality. With that thought, I took action. I pulled out several documents from the cabinet and laid them out in front of his parents. Here are Oscar's pay slips for the last year. It's a good opportunity to face the reality. The documents reveal his earnings over the past year. Seeing them, his parents gasp. What? Oscar, what's this about? Why is your salary so low? Indeed, his pay slips show a meager monthly income of around $1,000. It's a very low income. The reason lies in his educational background. He is a high school graduate, and he holds no qualifications. Moreover, he's not the type to concentrate for long periods, struggling to commit to extensive work hours. The jobs available to someone like him are quite limited. The company he's currently working for offers very low compensation. I had repeatedly suggested he change jobs, but perhaps lacking confidence in securing another position, he continually refused the idea. Living on a monthly income of $1,000 is extremely challenging. Fortunately, I was blessed with a good job. Having graduated from university and landed a job at a top company, I'm now in a managerial position. Hence, my salary is more than enough for daily life. You might realize by now, but had we not divorced, I would have been the one to own the new house. Oscar's salary is insufficient for mortgage payments. But with the divorce, I won't be living in that house, so there's no need for me to pay the mortgage. In essence, with a meager salary of $1,000 per month, Oscar will have to cover the mortgage and living expenses on his own. Of course, I'm the owner of the house we're living in now. After leaving the weekly rental apartment, I plan to sell this house and evict Oscar. Oscar himself seemed to realize this at some point. But his parents, oblivious to the dire situation Oscar was in, only continued to put pressure on him. Oscar, say it's not true. Jessica is lying, right? It's impossible that Oscar has such a low income. Grace shouted, refusing to accept reality, grabbing Oscar's shoulder in anger. Normally, if parents learn their son is in a terrible situation, they would try to support him. However, Grace, holding on to an overly grand illusion of Oscar, couldn't face the reality I presented and kept imposing her ideals. Marshall, overwhelmed by the stark truth, remained silent. Under the intense scrutiny of his parents, Oscar finally snapped, "Enough already!" and slumped down on the spot. Grace looked at Oscar with concern. "Jessica, please forgive us. We were wrong. I've been thinking these past few days, and no matter how I look at it, we can't live without you. If you're angry about what was said, I'll apologize as many times as it takes. Please, forgive us," Oscar said, offering a profound apology. His desperate attempt to make me stay almost made me laugh. Seeing my reaction, the in-laws seemed irritated but, recognizing their position, they apologized on the spot. "Jessica, please. Don't abandon us. We don't want to see Oscar suffer anymore. We apologize for what we did. So please, reconsider. It's not too late," Grace pleaded, apologizing next to Oscar.
Marshall, perhaps influenced by her, also said, "Please," and apologized. After being ridiculed and subjected to harsh words, this scene of all three apologizing simultaneously was quite a spectacle. I felt a sense of clarity, as if something long lodged in my chest had been cleared. But my resolve was firm. I truly felt that I couldn't forgive these three. Even if I forgave them now, there's no guarantee the same situation wouldn't happen again. Perhaps their behavior could become even worse. And more than anything, I no longer had the desire to continue as a family with them. The urge to be freed from these three and to live my own life was much stronger. That's why, no matter how much they tried to stop me, my decision didn't waver.
Sorry, but it's already decided. No matter what you say, I'm going to submit this divorce application. If you really don't like it, let's hire lawyers and discuss it further,"
I said, taking the divorce papers and returning to my room. After that, I could hear them arguing in the living room, but I ignored it and took the time to rest, preparing for the next day. The following early morning, I left the house with the luggage I had packed in advance. It was fortunate that I didn't have to face Oscar even once, and so, I was freed from these troublesome people. The divorce application was successfully processed. However, what became more contentious was the issue of alimony. I wasn't interested in receiving any alimony, for I was satisfied as long as I can get divorced. But Oscar, perhaps trying to squeeze every penny he could from me, demanded $100,000 in alimony, concocting some plausible reason like my alleged infidelity. Of course, there was no truth to such claims, so his demands didn't stand. I heard from a friend about what happened afterward. Following that incident, Oscar and his parents reportedly had a significant falling out. After I sold the house, Oscar was evicted and had to move in with his parents. But, shocked by the turn of events, he quit his job and started relying on his parents, which infuriated them. Now, he is said to be living alone in an apartment after being kicked out of his parents' house. He seems to be desperately trying to get in touch with me, reaching out to mutual friends haphazardly. It's utterly bothersome, but I have no intention of communicating with him, so I've taken the precaution of asking friends not to share my contact information. Dealing with him has been a headache, but even so, I am happy now. Having severed ties with him and his parents, I've embraced a life of freedom. My current environment, where I can focus entirely on my work, seems to suit me well. After all that has happened, I'm not keen on married life for a while. For the time being, I plan to cherish the time spent with friends and live each day to the fullest. In this long life ahead, I want to live for myself.
Giselle, my eldest son's wife, always speaks harshly to me and maintains a sarcastic attitude, no matter how hard I try to build a good relationship with her. When invited to our granddaughter Marcia's 5th birthday party, my husband and I arrived only to find Giselle had prepared a meal and cake for just 3 people. "Giselle, what about our meal?" "Only enough for the family." "What? No food for stingy people here." She said this while still holding the gift and envelope we had just given her. "A $500 gift for your granddaughter's celebration? Are you joking? My dad gave $2K. It should be at least $1K. I thought it was a normal amount. I'm at my limit. Can we cut ties after today?" Giselle said with a full smile. "Having my own parents here is more than enough. We don't need you. In fact, you're just in the way." My husband and I exchanged glances. "Shall we go home?" "Yeah." I was shaking with anger. Enough of holding back. I will make her regret how she insulted us and ruined Marcia's birthday. I am Elise, a 60-year-old living with my husband, Matt. I work part-time in a restaurant. Ever since our eldest son, Jackson, landed a job at a major company, I felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. Matt and I enjoy our days off together, going to movies or traveling. We have a good marriage. Matt is kind, and Jackson is serious and kind to his parents. I felt blessed but secretly worried that Jackson, in his late 20s, showed no signs of marrying. I hoped to be called grandma one day, but I understand many young people nowadays choose not to marry. Just when I had almost given up hope, Jackson brought home his fiancée. She was Giselle, the only daughter of a well-known local company. They met at a cafe near Jackson's company. Giselle, not adept at office work and looking to gain some experience, was working there part-time. She had approached Jackson and they started dating. She seemed like a capable, beautiful woman who could lead Jackson. The year after they married, they were blessed with a granddaughter named Marcia. Jackson and Giselle, who lived in a nearby condominium, would often bring Marcia to visit us during long weekends, besides Thanksgiving and Christmas. Matt and I adored Marcia, who was growing up so fast. Giselle always seemed happy watching us. However, what started as a good relationship between Giselle and me began to crack, triggered by her requests. One day, as usual, Jackson, Giselle, and Marcia came to visit. Seeing Matt and Jackson off on a shopping trip, Giselle approached me. Marcia has sensitive skin, so we have to be picky about her clothes. The ones with good designs are pretty expensive. Was she hinting that she wanted me to buy baby clothes? I wondered. Jackson earns a salary higher than the average for men in their 30s. He's so generous. Wouldn't he easily give money for children's clothes if I asked? Maybe they're saving for the future and don't want to spend from the household budget. And Giselle's family seems wealthier than ours. Maybe it's hard for her to ask her parents? Giselle, is there a particular outfit you want? After hesitating, I asked, and Giselle's face lit up. Yes, I love this brand because it's cute. Famous actresses often dress their kids in it. She showed me images on her mobile phone, and I was astonished. A short-sleeved t-shirt was $70, a lacy dress $100, and ballet shoes with the brand logo were an astonishing $1,000. Giselle, isn't that a bit extravagant for ordinary folks like us? I gently chided her, but Giselle retorted with widened eyes. Don't you find Marcia adorable? I don't mind wearing thrift store clothes, but I want my daughter to wear nice things. Overwhelmed by her fervor, I ended up buying the high-end clothes and shoes she insisted on. I hesitated to tell Matt about it, choosing to remain silent. I justified it to myself, thinking I bought these with my own salary, so it's okay, right? After that, besides other gifts, I continued to send clothes and shoes for Marcia's birthdays and Christmas. However, one thing puzzled me. Every time the clothes arrived, Giselle would send a thank you message, but she never posted pictures of Marcia wearing them. One weekend, while having lunch with a friend, I confided in her about this. She thought for a moment and then showed me an online marketplace. Is this? I gasped in surprise. Just 2 days after I had sent Giselle the clothes, the same items were listed on the site. The same items you bought for your eldest son's wife? Yes, a limited edition for spring. No mistake there. And they're unopened. I always buy children's clothes here, so I keep an eye on this brand. It's popular, and unopened items sell for a high price. My friend frowned. This person, I remember their username because it's unique. They post high-end brands several times a year, so I wondered if they were selling gifts they received. I had a bad feeling. If it happened just once, it could be a coincidence. But if it continued, it would mean Giselle was secretly selling the clothes I sent. Or worse, was she planning to sell them from the start and just using me to buy them? Afterwards, whenever I checked the online marketplace, 2 days after I sent the clothes, the same items listed by the same username would appear. Last year, during a visit to Jackson and Giselle's home, I finally decided to confront Giselle. I've decided to stop giving clothes as gifts. Eh? Why? Giselle puffed up her cheeks in response. Matt opposed the idea of such expensive children's clothes, but don't worry, I'll continue to give toys and gift cards as usual. I had finally talked to Matt about this matter, albeit late. Matt agreed with me. Giselle, being a housewife, might be selling the children's clothes for some extra cash. If you find it hard to refuse, feel free to use my name. Thank you, I'll do that. Sure enough, when I mentioned Matt's name, Giselle swallowed her complaints. She's not comfortable with the reticent Matt. Fine then, I understand. Matt's quite stingy, isn't he? She spat out the words bitterly, but after that, she never pestered me for children's clothes again. There were other behaviors of Giselle's that irked me. Perhaps due to being a germaphobe, whenever I tried to touch Marcia, Giselle insisted on me washing my hands with soap and sanitizing them. Furthermore, whenever I visited their condominium, Giselle would follow me with an alcohol spray, disinfecting everywhere I touched. It felt like being treated as a germ, which was unpleasant. Amidst growing distrust towards Giselle, I received an unexpected call from her. Surprised, I answered and she spoke with a buoyant voice. "We're planning a birthday party for Marcia soon. Would you and Matt like to come and celebrate with us?" "Really? Is that okay?" I had to ask again to be sure. "We usually invite kindergarten friends, but this year, Marcia already celebrated with a friend whose birthday is close, so Jackson and I thought we'd invite you guys. How about next Sunday?" "We're free, thank you. We'll be there." I was planning to send the present by express delivery service as usual, so I was really happy. "Is the doll she wanted before okay for a present, or would you prefer a gift card?" "Could we have cash this time?" "Understood." After discussing with Matt, I put the present and $500 in an envelope and went to Jackson and Giselle's condominium the following Sunday. The living room, stylishly decorated with pastel-colored balloons and garlands, had Marcia standing there with a shy smile, her hair adorned with a ribbon, wearing a pink dress. "Grandma, Grandpa, thank you for coming to my birthday party." Marcia greeted us, holding the hem of her skirt, and both Matt and I couldn't help but smile warmly. She always looks cute, but today she looked like an angel or a fairy. "Thank you for inviting us. Now 5 years old. You're a big girl now." "Yes, I'm a big sister now." Her confident reply was irresistibly adorable. "Dad, Mom, thanks for coming." We were surprised to see Jackson. It had been months since our last meeting, and he looked quite worn, with dark circles under his eyes. "You look a bit thin. Is work keeping you busy?" "Oh, yeah." Jackson's vague smile gave me an uneasy feeling. "Jackson, you've had your company health checkup, right?" "I have. Sorry, this is a call from work." He stepped out into the hallway, quickly ended the call, and returned to the room. "I need to head out to the office for a bit. I'll be back by evening. Giselle, please order dinner for Dad and them, too." "Okay." As Jackson hurriedly left, Giselle brought in a casserole and a whole birthday cake to the dining table. "Dad's gone to work, so let's eat without him." While saying this, she cut the bear-shaped cake into 3 pieces. 3? I noticed that Giselle had set the table with only 3 plates and cutlery. She divided the casserole into 3 portions and placed them on the plates. "Giselle, what about our portions?" I asked, puzzled. Giselle just shrugged her shoulders. "There's only enough for the family." "What? No food for stingy people here." She said this almost singingly, holding the envelope we had just given her. "A $500 gift for your granddaughter's birthday? Are you kidding? My dad gave $2,000. It should at least be $1,000. I thought it was a normal amount. As I quietly countered, Giselle looked at us and snorted. "Normal? For someone working in a factory part-time, $500 must be a lot, right?" "Oh, I apologize then." "Hey." Ignoring Matt's changing expression, Giselle continued in a mocking tone. "I knew this family was poor before I even married. The house is old, the interior is outdated, and the whole family is incredibly stingy. This is what you call a marriage of financial disparity. And it's almost laughable. But this is worse than I expected." Anger welled up inside me. "A marriage of financial disparity," she says. She was the one who pursued Jackson, and now she dares to talk like this. "That's why I've always been thorough with disinfection, to avoid catching the poverty germs from you. It would be terrible if me, a CEO's daughter, or Jackson, who works in a major company, got infected." I see. That's why she was almost peeling her skin off, constantly wiping her hands with sanitizing wipes. "But I'm at my limit. Can we cut ties after today?" Giselle said this with a full smile towards Matt and me. "Having my own parents is enough. We don't need you. In fact, you're just in the way." Matt and I exchanged glances. I thought Matt would be angry, but he seemed to have moved past anger to disbelief, wearing a cold expression. "Shall we go?" "Yeah." As we headed to the entrance in disbelief, Marcia followed us, looking confused. "Grandpa? Grandma? Are you leaving already? I was looking forward to playing with you." Seeing Marcia's tears, my heart clenched. I hugged Marcia. I'm sorry, darling. We have to go today, but we'll come and see you again soon. Until then, be a good girl and listen to Dad and Mom, okay? Okay, I understand. As Matt stroked Marcia's head, I noticed Giselle standing behind him, arms crossed, glaring at us. With heavy hearts, Matt and I left Marcia behind. In the evening, Jackson called after returning home. When I got home, Marcia's eyes were swollen. She had been crying since you two left. Is that so? Mom, you left because your stomach was hurting, right? It can't be helped. Did you go to the doctor? I'm feeling better now, thank you. Jackson's kindness warmed my heart. Compared to Giselle, after hanging up, intense anger welled up inside me, and my hands trembled. Giselle had driven Matt and me away, and Marcia's tears probably didn't matter to her at all. Enough of holding back. I will make her regret how she insulted us and ruined Marcia's birthday. Despite Giselle's declaration of cutting ties, she seemed to still hide her true self from Jackson. I hadn't left the family messaging app. Matt and I could still communicate with Jackson and Giselle. So I decided to use the messaging app to reveal Giselle's true nature to Jackson. Timing it during his company's break, I posted the online marketplace images in the group message. Giselle responded quickly. Elise, delete that photo right now. Oh, Giselle, I thought you wanted to cut ties with us. Right after my reply, a message from Jackson appeared. Giselle, what's this about? Don't believe her, Jackson. It's all lies from Elise about cutting ties. Lies? No, I'm talking about the clothes. The ones Mom gave for Marcia. I never saw her wear them, and they're on the online marketplace. Giselle, perhaps flustered, left the message on read without replying. And it's all of them. Did you have Mom buy them just to sell? I can't believe this. It's a coincidence. Someone else happened to sell the same clothes online. Jackson pressed on against Giselle's denial. That's your username, Giselle. When I get home, I'll check Marcia's closet. Since you insist, they should all be there, right? I remembered. She dirtied them as soon as she wore them, so I threw them away. All 20 of them? Selling them would have easily net over $1,000, right? I could sense a quiet fury in Jackson's messages. Soon after, a message from Jackson to me appeared. Mom, after work, can I bring Giselle to your house? I want the 4 of us to have a talk. Wait a minute, I'm not going. I have to take care of Marcia. Jackson responded to the panicking Giselle. I'll ask your parents to join us, so I'll come over after dinner. I have to get back to work now. After that, Jackson's messages stopped. Immediately, Giselle called me. Hey, old hag, stop meddling in things. My, how scary. I feigned fear at Giselle's ranting, but she continued yelling without lowering her tone. I told you we were cutting ties. Don't be all friendly in the family messages. That message was for Jackson. You reacted on your own. I spoke firmly. So you're not coming tonight? Jackson will find that suspicious. Giselle clicked her tongue on the other end and spoke in a low voice. Fine, I'll come, but if you pull any more weird stunts, you'll never see Marcia again. Remember that. Okay. We'll be waiting for you guys tonight. After hanging up, Matt and I, who had listened to the whole conversation, exchanged a knowing smile. That evening, Jackson and Giselle visited our house. Marcia was apparently left with Giselle's parents. Giselle, exuding an air of displeasure, didn't change her attitude even as the 4 of us sat at the dining table. But when I laid out the photos, she instantly paled. As Giselle frantically gathered the photos and stuffed them into her skirt pocket, I arranged the remaining few in front of Jackson. They were photos of Giselle and a man closely entwined in front of a champagne tower at a nightclub. Where did you find these? Giselle glared at me with intense eyes, but I explained with a smile. A friend's daughter works at a bar. She went to a nightclub and mentioned seeing someone named Giselle partying extravagantly. Giselle, being model-like beautiful, apparently stood out a lot. I didn't believe it at first, but when I showed your photo to my friend's daughter, she recognized you. Then I searched your username from the online marketplace and social media, and that's how I found these images. Jackson picked up one of the photos. There was a fierce anger in the usually calm Jackson's face. A nightclub, huh? Jackson, there's a reason for this. You left Marcia with me saying you were working overtime and went out to places like this every night? The story about helping a friend was a lie then. Giselle, faced with his icy tone, didn't even try to excuse herself. Jackson sighed and covered his forehead with his hand. So the clothes Mom gave were sold to fund these nightclub outings. No wonder the pocket money was never enough. It's not like I was cheating or anything. What's the big deal? As Giselle became defiant, I let a smile play on my lips. More to come. By the way, Jackson, did you bring what I asked for earlier? Yes. Jackson took out credit card statements and a bank passbook from his bag, causing Giselle's eyes to widen. Jackson, don't take things out without asking. The card's mine and the passbook is in both our names. It's fine to show them. Giselle, rendered speechless by Jackson's unyielding tone, shut her mouth angrily. Jackson spread out both the card statement and the bank passbook on the table, exclaiming in shock as soon as he saw them. Matt and I, peeking over, were equally stunned. No wonder. The card's revolving payments balance exceeded $20,000, and the bank account had only a few dollars left. This can't be true. The card's maxed out, and all the money we saved from Marcia has been spent. Besides the dumbfounded Jackson, Giselle puffed up her face and turned away. Well, frequenting nightclubs would quickly burn through a few $1,000s. Jackson, who had been calm until now, finally exploded in anger. Giselle, touching our child's savings is absolutely wrong. How can you even call yourself a mom? Shut up, all of you. Giselle, irritated, tossed her hair and spat out. What's wrong with using your money as I please, you stingy man? She stood up, facing Jackson, and unleashed a tirade. Listen, I married you because you work at a major company. I thought I could spend money freely and live luxuriously without working. But once we started living together, it's all about saving for the kid. Cutting down on eating out, saving money, all your commands. Ridiculous. Jackson's face grew rigid. After a long stare down with Giselle, he sighed softly. I understand. Let's divorce. I can't do this with you anymore. Since it seems you've caused Mom a lot of distress, I'll be asking for alimony too. Distress is mutual. Fine. I'll ask my dad. He'll happily pay the alimony and the card bills. I don't need any of you. Giselle spoke arrogantly, then burst into shrill laughter. I pointed my mobile phone at her. You sure you should be saying that? Huh? Your dad's company has gone bankrupt. Giselle was taken aback. She snatched my mobile phone and stared at the screen in disbelief. Frozen. It just appeared on the local online news. Haven't you heard anything from your father? He mentioned the recession and having trouble with finances, but he always fulfilled my requests. Giselle's earlier bravado had vanished. Her face paled and her voice trembled. Then her mobile phone rang. Giselle took it out, swallowed hard, and answered the call. Dad, it's not true that the company's bankrupt, right? I'm sorry, we tried our best, but it didn't work out. So I'm afraid I can't support you financially anymore. Giselle's face contorted, looking like she might cry at any moment. What? But I need the money. Paying our employees is all we can manage. I'm retiring as president and will live quietly with Mom. You should live happily with Jackson and Marcia. Giselle's dad's loud voice made the entire conversation audible. Live happily? We're probably getting divorced. Really? Anyway, the nightclub called. They asked when you're paying the $20,000 bill. Giselle's face twisted even more. I thought I'd ask you for it. That's impossible. Giselle's dad dismissed the idea outright. Giselle, you're 35 years old, a full-grown adult. You need to sort this out yourself. Good luck. Giselle, holding the disconnected phone, looked utterly defeated. Actually, we've been saving money for Marcia for when she grows up. $100,000. Giselle's eyes widened as if they might pop out. We didn't remodel our old house and saved every penny. We thought of giving it to you to help with the debt if you apologized and showed some remorse. But you said we were not needed, right? So you don't need it then. Giselle's mouth moved like a fish out of water, but no words came out. Anyway, that's the end of this discussion. Goodbye. With that cold statement, Giselle grabbed Jackson's arm, pleading with tear-filled eyes. "Hey, Jackson, you won't abandon me, right? I was just joking about wanting a divorce. I'll apologize. Let's continue as before. Marcia is still so young, right?" "Dad, Mom, sorry for staying so late. I'll discuss the divorce with Giselle," Jackson said calmly and took the frantic Giselle home. It seemed Giselle wanted Jackson to reconsider, but of course that didn't happen, and they ended up divorcing. Payments for the credit card Jackson owned that Giselle used without permission, their joint bank account, and the nightclub bills. In addition to this, there was a $10,000 alimony payment for the divorce. Burdened with debt, Giselle, unable to rely on her parents, reluctantly started a part-time job. Her life became difficult. Under the condition that she wouldn't have to pay child support, Jackson took custody of Marcia. He regularly allows Marcia to see Giselle. Giselle, working from early morning till late night, lost her former glamour and looked shabby. I was freed from the days of enduring her demands and sarcasm, living comfortably. It's hard for Jackson to raise Marcia alone, so we suggested they live with us. Matt and I decided to help with childcare. On days Matt has to work overtime or weekends, I, who finish work earliest, pick up Marcia from daycare. Marcia is very kind, just like Jackson. On the birthdays of Jackson, myself, and Matt, Marcia gives us beaded accessories, accompanied by heartfelt letters. I look forward to her future. We three adults want to continue warmly watching over Marcia's growth. "Come on, it's fine to use the celebration money for a bit. It's my celebration too, after all," she exclaimed with confidence, making an outrageous comment. Her parents' unmistakably disapproving faces were quite memorable. "My name is Marcia. This year I finally turned 60, and now I'm going to tell you about something that happened when I was 50. Back then, my son Arnold, whom I had raised single-handedly, had become independent, and I was enjoying my newfound freedom. Just when I thought I had it all figured out, Arnold introduced me to a woman he wanted to marry, Sissy. She was 25, 5 years younger than Arnold. My first impression of her was striking. She was slender and beautiful, a lady with a serene and calm aura. I couldn't help but wonder, could such a gorgeous and seemingly perfect woman really become Arnold's wife? A side note here, Arnold looks a lot like me. Not the most handsome, or rather, he has a face with character. Despite that, Arnold, being very attentive and kind, always had a girlfriend, surprisingly enough. Feeling a bit uneasy about the mismatch between the beautiful Sissy and Arnold, I still felt a burst of pride that such a girl had chosen my son. After chatting with Sissy for a while, I said, "I've prepared dinner. Please have some before you leave," and laid out the evening meal. That's when Sissy exclaimed in a slightly bewildered tone, "Oh, steak? Ah, you don't like it?" "No, it's not that." On that day, determined to treat my future daughter-in-law to something special, I splurged and ordered delivery from a renowned restaurant. The menu included gratin, steak, and pasta. I had chosen these after confirming any allergies with Arnold, but seeing the steak, Sissy's expression visibly clouded. I didn't want to force her to eat something she disliked. I was aiming to build a relationship with Sissy where we could speak freely about anything. After all, one of the reasons I divorced my ex-husband was the poor relationship with my mother-in-law. I didn't want to put Arnold's wife through the same ordeal. "You can be honest if there's something you don't like," I said. "No, it's okay," she replied. "Don't force yourself. It's okay to leave some," I insisted. "Thank you." Sissy smiled as she said this, but her smile seemed slightly unnatural. I felt a hint of disgust in her expression. In the end, Sissy only ate a bit of the pasta, didn't touch anything else, and left after taking some supplements she brought. From what I heard, those supplements were for reducing fat absorption after meals and preventing swelling by eliminating salt, and some vitamins apparently. Sissy talked about these supplements more enthusiastically than she talked about Arnold. When I later asked Arnold about it, he said Sissy was very conscious about her beauty. It turns out that Arnold and Sissy met because they attended the same gym. Sissy was known there for her strict regimen. Since they started dating, they never went out to eat, partly because Arnold often got home late. They primarily had dates at Arnold's apartment where he lived alone. The meals were often prepared by Sissy, who brought her own ingredients. Come to think of it, the menu was always healthy. Maybe she was subtly avoiding dining out because of the calorie counting. Arnold mused. Would you like to go out sometimes? The invitation was, You're too tired after all. It seems that this was her gentle way of declining. Arnold concluded that Sissy didn't eat the prepared food because it would exceed her daily calorie intake. She avoided dining out not to exceed her calorie limit. That's why she cooked calculated, healthy meals for Arnold at home. Arnold, not thinking much about it since Sissy was the one cooking, didn't realize she was controlling calories to such an extent and didn't mind her taking supplements after meals at home. After expressing this, Arnold said, I guess we should have dined out occasionally. I realized then that Arnold also felt somewhat uneasy about Sissy's behavior during our family meeting. Later, Arnold kept defending her, saying, But she's got a good personality, and she's a thoughtful, nice girl, as if to reassure himself. Taking supplements, what's the big deal, right? But that's not the point. Our unease wasn't about that. If Sissy left the carefully prepared food untouched just for calorie counting despite her considerate behavior, didn't she fundamentally lack the understanding of how to be truly considerate? I had said it was okay to leave food, and I meant it, but this made me feel uncertain about getting along with Sissy. Arnold probably vaguely realized he had upset me and was feeling uneasy about Sissy. Is calorie counting a matter of different values? I felt a bit anxious about finding a resolution that would satisfy both parties. Arnold and Sissy later registered their marriage. They have a wedding ceremony planned in 2 months. I was worried about potential value conflicts, but they've made it this far. It must be all right. My worries were probably overthinking. I decided to leave it to the younger generation. Then, one day, Sissy suddenly came to our house. When I showed her to the living room, she pulled out a box of a well-known diet smoothie from her bag, saying, This. What? I was taken aback. I thought you might want to try it. Oh, thank you, I'll give it a try. Is a diet drink something you give as a gift? Is this normal for young people these days? Ignoring my dumbfounded expression, Sissy kept pulling out box after box of supplements from her bag. This is tea that helps break down fat, and this is a superfood high in dietary fiber. This one is, Sissy, what's all this? I almost blurted out, This isn't all for a gift, is it? But swallowed the words, thinking they might be too sharp. I know it's none of my business, but I really want you to start a diet focused on supplements, Marcia. Excuse me? You were so slim in the photos from your 30s that you showed me with Arnold. Oh, well, yes. Back then, as a single mother, I was fighting against society's cold stares, constantly working hard while taking care of Arnold. I gave my own food to Arnold, so I was indeed quite thin, almost to the point of being gaunt. Even though you've aged, Marcia, you're still a woman. I don't want you to give up on beauty. What do you mean? I didn't remember giving up on beauty. Wait, is this a roundabout way of saying I'm unattractive? I'm sorry to say this, but you are too heavy. I've been concerned about it for a while. What? I couldn't believe my ears. I am aware that I'm about 11 pounds over the average weight for my age group, but losing more weight would only make the wrinkles on my face more noticeable. When I was younger, being thin was more flattering since I had no wrinkles. But now it's hard for my face to retain fat, and for some reason, it's the first place where I lose weight. As a result, when I lose weight, various face wrinkles become more pronounced and my skin loses its firmness. Aging is scary. When young, being slim is better, but with age it can make you look older, something Sissy doesn't seem to understand yet. Well, that's expected. Marcia, let's aim for your physique from your 30s. Don't worry, I'll support you. If you follow my advice, you'll definitely lose weight. What to do? I still want to get along with my son's wife, but I have no desire to lose weight. Maybe in that sense I have given up on beauty, as Sissy says. But I'm past the age of romance, and more than beauty, I want to enjoy a modest life. So beauty isn't a priority for me. Is being thin the only right way? Who decided that? Who decided that anything other than being thin is not okay? Everyone is different, and that's perfectly fine. Needless to say, this thought stirred more turmoil within me. I appreciate your concern, but I'm sorry. I'm satisfied with myself as I am. Really? Satisfied with that appearance? Impossible. Excuse me? I must have been glaring at Sissy with a dead serious face. I was torn between wondering if I had misheard and wanting to confront her. I've survived the struggles of single parenthood with a fighting spirit. I was about to take up the challenge, but then I remembered Sissy as Arnold's fiancée and calmed myself. No, I must cool down. I must have misheard. Surely, maybe, probably. To be confident with that appearance is, in a way, impressive. I couldn't walk outside looking like that. Well, I walk outside with this face every day. Being in that state is like wearing shame. Are you so used to being overweight that it doesn't bother you anymore? It's a serious situation. Shame educates people. If you don't want to be embarrassed, you can elevate yourself. Come on, Marcia, acknowledge your embarrassment. Sissy lectured me like a teacher scolding a wayward girl. Though her tone was polite, her words were commanding. This was the first time I had been hit with such heavy blows, one after another, delivered so courteously. Her polite manner made it seem as if she meant no harm, which was confusing. But even if there was no malice, it was still problematic. That's it, Marcia. Let's go for cosmetic surgery. I'll accompany you. Suggesting plastic surgery as if it's a casual outing. Isn't this a bit too much? I wanted to yell at her, but Sissy is my son's wife. Stay calm, Marcia. As I said before, I'm satisfied with myself. It's not about looks. I'm confident in my way of life and my choices. I meant every word. I might have failed in my marriage, but I raised Arnold well, and even as a high school dropout, I managed to secure this house. When I became a single mother, I was scorned by my own relatives, but now I'm recognized as a respectable mom. Looks may be important, but I pride myself on having a noble and beautiful inner self. I don't care what anyone says. However, Sissy blatantly frowned upon hearing this. Sorry, but I don't understand. Are you serious? Absolutely. I was more than a little irritated. Being judged for my lifestyle was more intolerable than any comments about my appearance. Is that so? Then please don't attend our wedding, so as not to ruin it. What? You might not care, but I can't bear the thought of others knowing you're my mother-in-law. It would turn our big day into an ordeal. What? This girl. How can she so unashamedly keep calling me an embarrassment? After all, I'm the only mother of your husband, you know. I'm sorry, but that makes no sense. I'm Arnold's only parent. Are you asking me to let my son have a wedding without his parent? That would be sad. What are you saying? Arnold must feel unbearable about having a parent like you at his wedding. He just doesn't say it. Did Arnold say that? If he did, I'll stay away. He's my precious son, but if it's just your request, I can't comply. You don't need to say it. We're a couple planning to spend our lives together. It should be obvious. What's that? As a mother, I should know my son's feelings. He wouldn't be happy with a wedding where I can't celebrate. What are you talking about? You can celebrate. How? Express your good wishes with a gift. A minimum of $10,000 would be enough. Are you out of your mind? I slammed the table and stood up. You're the one who's crazy, Marcia. You're selfishly ruining Arnold's big day. I'd hope you'd lose weight voluntarily, but now, with the wedding close, having someone who lacks self-control as a relative is unbearable. I wish we could cut ties. If not, the only way to hide your existence is for you to miss family gatherings. Please understand the feelings of someone who has to say such difficult things. Sissy's eyes, full of defiance, were very serious. She genuinely thought I was an embarrassment and believed Arnold felt the same but couldn't say it, making her look like a victim. I believed Arnold couldn't possibly think that, But when somebody confidently confronts you with such a flawed theory, you start to wonder if they might have some basis for their words. This can't be true. But if Sissy is right, am I the one who's wrong? I felt shaken, unsure what to do. But there's no point worrying about uncertain outcomes. My strengths are quick adaptability and decisiveness. All right, I'll ask Arnold myself. When I said that, Sissy quickly took out her mobile phone and started calling Arnold. Hello, sorry to bother you at work. If only she'd put it on speaker mode. I can't hear what Arnold is saying. I'm at your mom's house right now. I came to tell Marcia to diet and get cosmetic surgery. I heard Arnold's surprised voice for a moment, probably saying, what? Or huh? I know it's embarrassing for you if Marcia attends the wedding. I told her in your place. Yes, that's right. She refused both the surgery and diet, so I thought we'd have her miss the wedding and express her congratulations with a gift. I was scared to hear how smoothly the conversation between Sissy and Arnold was going. Could Arnold really agree with Sissy? At that moment, I received an email on my mobile phone. It was from Arnold's computer email address. I've woken up. What should I do about the marriage? I immediately replied, get a divorce. Sissy continued talking on the phone. Of course. Marcia said it wasn't true. I'm relieved. I thought I was overstepping. Another email from Arnold came in. Don't believe what she said on the phone. I'm just agreeing with her to keep the peace. I replied, understood. I told Arnold we should discuss the details later, as constantly typing emails might arouse Sissy's suspicion. The phone conversation between Sissy and Arnold. Listening to only Sissy's voice, it seemed that Arnold was agreeing with her, saying, I was also embarrassed by Mom's attendance. I see. That's what it is. Good thinking, Arnold. I'll do the same. Anticipating Arnold's likely strategy, I smirked. So, Marcia, Arnold says that he's embarrassed by your attendance, so he wants you not to come, Sissy said triumphantly. I had to act convincingly, so I played along. I'm shocked to think he felt that way about me. As I looked downcast and responded, Sissy nodded vigorously, patting my shoulder and saying, everyone is blind to their own flaws. Indeed, this young girl in front of me seems to be unaware of her own shortcomings. Don't worry, we'll fully accept your gift as a gesture of celebration. I have to prepare dinner, so I'll leave for today. Understood. With that, Sissy left. Of course, that night Arnold came to our house pretending to work overtime to hold a strategy meeting and then left. It was a secret learning moment for me that overtime could be used as an excuse for reasons other than infidelity. After brainstorming together, my plan was chosen. All that was left was to wait for the wedding day. On the day of the wedding, Sissy had expressed a desire to spend the day before with her family, so both she and Arnold were at their respective homes that morning. Therefore, Arnold and I went together to Sissy's family home early in the morning. When we rang the doorbell, Sissy's mother, Caddy, welcomed us warmly, saying, So nice of you to come before the ceremony. As a mother myself, it pained me a bit, but it was necessary. Sissy, expecting to meet Arnold at the venue, was visibly shaken to see him appear suddenly, and even more so to find me, who was supposed to miss the ceremony, standing beside him. What's going on? She asked. Arnold calmly presented her with a piece of paper. I want a divorce. The moment Arnold said that, both Caddy and Sissy repeated several times, What? Why? At that moment, both Caddy and Sissy exclaimed. Polly, Sissy's father, seemed stunned at first, but then quickly composed himself and demanded of Arnold, What do you mean? Sissy seems to dislike my mother. I can't see a future with someone like that. Do you prefer your mother over your wife? If you're a mama's boy, we don't want you either, Polly angrily retorted. Sissy and Kathy stood there dumbstruck. If my own wife speaks ill of my mother, saying she's fat, embarrassing, and should not attend the wedding or get plastic surgery, wouldn't it be normal to dislike such a wife? Or are you two okay with Sissy being in this position? Is that the kind of daughter you want? If valuing the parent who raised me over an unreasonable wife is being a mama's boy, then I am one. If my mother had harassed my wife, I would have cut ties with her. I'm just siding with what's right. Am I wrong?" Arnold spoke fluidly. Watching Arnold speak so fluently, I felt a bit moved, thinking about how much he had grown. The child who used to walk holding my hand was now standing in front of me, taking a stand for what's right. Despite the struggles and challenges, I was truly glad to have given birth to and raised this child. "Sissy wouldn't say such things. Stop lying." At the moment Polly spoke, Sissy shouted over him, "Why? You also said you were embarrassed by Marcia." Just as Polly was about to argue that Sissy would never say such unreasonable things, Sissy herself admitted to her own outrageous remarks. Polly turned to Sissy in surprise. "That was an act. I've been communicating with my mother, and my phone conversation with you was all lies," Arnold revealed. "So you deceived me?" "It turns out that way, but don't you think you're responsible too?" "Why? I'm not wrong. If Marcia came to the wedding, everyone would laugh." "No, my mother is well known among my friends and acquaintances. She's a bit of a local celebrity, so being laughed at is impossible. The reception might even turn into a reunion." "That can't be. Moreover, I don't have friends who would mock my parent." Seeing Sissy's silence, her parents seemed to start realizing that mine and Arnold's stance was correct. "Why? Why would you do such a thing?" Polly repeated in disbelief, his expression becoming stern towards Sissy. I was worried that our claims might not be accepted since we hadn't recorded Sissy's harsh words, but fortunately, Sissy had created a disadvantageous situation for herself. "But why bring divorce papers on the wedding day? That's the worst. I demand compensation." Sissy's tearful plea left everyone speechless. Did she really think she could get compensation? "We'll still have the wedding. I won't sign the divorce papers. I won't let us separate." Sissy sounded like a petulant child. The composed woman from the family meeting was nowhere to be seen. Her parents turned away as if embarrassed by her. Sissy, who had repeatedly called me an embarrassment, was now the source of embarrassment to her own parents. Unfazed, I spoke the truth. There won't be a wedding or reception today. "What?" Sissy exclaimed. "You think we'd keep the wedding as planned if we'd decided to divorce?" "What do you mean? We canceled the ceremony long ago. Maybe I should ask for the cancellation fee as compensation for you wanting to disinherit me." "What are you saying? You canceled it because you wanted to separate. If I don't agree, then you should pay the compensation and cancellation fee." At that moment, there was a sharp slap. Caddy had struck Sissy's cheek. "Enough already." "Mom." Sissy held her cheek, stunned. "I've been listening, and it's clear you're in the wrong. And now you're asking for money, which is disgraceful. Divorce is only natural," Caddy said, and then turned to Arnold and me, bowing her head in apology. She forced Sissy to bow too, and Polly followed suit. "Wait, Mom, Dad, isn't wanting a wonderful wedding normal? I asked Marcia not to attend, but I didn't want her not to celebrate with us." "That's right, you didn't say not to celebrate. You said you'd accept it as a gesture of celebration if I wrapped at least $10K as a gift, right?" I said this with a smile to Sissy, who was screaming like a madwoman. My revelation left her parents looking at me, their faces pale. "And that $10K, you were planning to use it for cosmetic surgery, like a cheek lift, weren't you?" "What?" Arnold's further revelation shocked the parents. After they exclaimed, both parents fixed their gaze on Sissy. Sissy, unable to meet her parents' eyes, remained looking down. "I heard you on the phone booking cosmetic surgery, and I overheard you telling a friend you'd use some of the gift money for facial maintenance," Arnold continued. Sissy's face quickly turned red. She was probably embarrassed that her husband, Arnold, of all people, knew about her plans. "So what's wrong with wanting to be a beautiful wife? It's just removing wrinkles with surgery, and using a bit of the gift money for it is fine. It's also for my celebration." Sissy, puffing out her chest, made this outrageous claim confidently. Her parents, evidently embarrassed by her, held their heads in their hands. Initially, Sissy had adamantly refused to divorce. However, after being repeatedly scolded by her parents, she finally signed the divorce papers. Her parents kept apologizing to us, saying, "We're sorry for tarnishing Arnold's family name because of our daughter." When Sissy signed the papers, she seemed to finally realize it was over and tearfully apologized to Arnold and me. She kept begging, "Please reconsider. Don't leave me." But it was too late. Arnold did not change his mind and later filed the divorce papers at the office. Regarding the cancellation fees and the cost of the rings, her parents understood it was their responsibility to pay, and we were fully reimbursed. Strictly speaking, we were refunded not only the expected amount but also an additional sum. According to her parents, it was considered compensation. After the divorce, Sissy was forced by her parents to quit her job and move to Burlington to live with her grandmother. Sissy's parents, believing that her obsession with beauty stemmed from her glamorous city life, apparently decided to send her to live with her grandmother on a farm, immersing her not in glitter but in the muddier aspects of life. This way, they thought, she would stop comparing her appearance with others. Moreover, with mostly elderly people around and no such targets for comparison, they believed that her excessive beauty consciousness would likely subside, if even reluctantly. Additionally, Sissy's dislike of insects and her tendency toward germophobia would make it even more challenging. For Sissy, a person raised entirely in the city, there would be nothing to like in Burlington. "That's quite a harsh punishment," Arnold laughed. Currently, Arnold, unable to give up on marriage, regularly attended events for divorced individuals where he met and married a woman. Interestingly, this woman was fuller figured than I am. Although I knew Arnold didn't choose his former wife for her looks, I never expected him to remarry someone so different. However, she's a kind and gentle wife, and now they are blessed with a son and a daughter. This Valentine's Day, I plan to make chocolates with my grandchildren for Arnold. We're also planning to go to the pool with Arnold's family and the grandkids this summer, making up for the last 2 years we've missed due to the pandemic. I'm a little apprehensive about being invited to the water slide. I worry about whether my aging hips can handle it, but I'll give it a go. Surrounded by my beloved son Arnold, his wife, and adorable grandchildren, I am happiest now.
I'm Rebecca, 35 years old. I work from home as a freelance writer. My family consists of my husband Bart, who's 3 years older than me, and works for a major corporation, my mother-in-law Casey, and me. My father-in-law passed away from an illness 5 years ago. Bart and I have been married for 5 years now, but we've been struggling to have children. Every day I get nagged by Casey about having grandchildren. "Really, Rebecca, when are we going to see a grandchild? It's been 5 years since you got married. What exactly are you two doing?" "Not this again, Casey. It seems like I get asked this question every day. Can't you stop? I'm really fed up." "What are you talking about? I'm just worried about your future. Is that a nuisance to you?" "If you're really worried about us, could you please just leave us alone? We have arguments like this almost every day, and it's been mentally exhausting."
"Mom, can't you just stop? This is our issue. It's not something you should be meddling in."
Bart had overheard mine and Casey's conversation upon coming home and scolded her. "What are you saying? This is an important issue for our family. We need an heir."
"An heir? Our family isn't some ancient lineage, right? Dad was just a regular employee, and you're a housewife. There's no need to obsess over an heir."
"That's right, Casey. Even if I do get pregnant, I can't choose the baby's gender. I'm troubled when you talk like this." Bart and I tried to convince Casey to stop involving herself in this matter. However, Casey continued with nonsensical talk, saying that if I truly wanted to bear an heir, I would naturally conceive a boy, and that my inability to do so was due to a lack of intent. It's unrealistic to think one can control the gender of their baby by will. But our explanations didn't get through to Casey, who was so eager for a grandchild. Instead, Casey, feeling attacked, became grumpy and retreated to her room. Casey doesn't know yet, but Bart and I started fertility treatments. 6 months ago, after thorough medical examinations, it was discovered that Bart was the cause of our infertility. The look of guilt on Bart's face at that time is something I still can't forget. On the way back from the hospital, Bart suddenly said in the car, "I'm sorry it's because of me that we can't have children. If you hadn't married me, Rebecca, you might have been a mother by now. I'm really sorry." Bart, who rarely shows weakness, had tears in his eyes and kept apologizing to me. "What are you talking about? I didn't marry you just because I wanted children. I married you because I love you. We just need to keep trying with the treatment together." I had never seen Bart so down before, and I tried to find the right words to comfort him. But I couldn't find the right words, and ended up saying the best thing I could think of at the moment. However, it's not like I'm feeling any pressure. I'm already 35, not exactly a young age. It would be a lie to say I'm not in a hurry. Just recently, I saw a few of my friends posting about their second or third child on social media. At 35, it's not unusual to be married and have children, but I haven't even reached the starting line yet. It's become painful to see posts about children, like birth announcements or school enrollments, and I've started to dislike browsing social media. When friends noticed I wasn't liking their posts, they began to exclude me from gatherings. I feel like I'm living in a different world just because I don't have children. It's so painful to feel this way just because we can't have a child. Still, I couldn't blame Bart. "Hey, I was doing some research at work today, and I found this clinic. Why don't we give it a try?" I showed him a famous fertility clinic in the city. "Look, it has good reviews and offers cutting-edge treatments. It's a bit far, but I think we should try it. What do you think?"
"Yeah, I know this place. Actually, a senior colleague's wife got pregnant, and she was treated here. I've heard good things about the doctor, and I'm really interested."
"Really? Then let's make an appointment right away. The wait for a first consultation here is a month."
"If that's the case, we should book an appointment soon. Let me know when it's confirmed, and I'll take the day off."
Bart and I decided to transfer to this clinic that offers more specialized treatment than where we were going. The following month, I visited the fertility clinic with Bart. We completed all the initial tests and were just waiting for the doctor's consultation. It really is a famous hospital. We've been waiting an hour just for the tests, and now over an hour for the consultation.
"But there are many people around our age here, right? Seems like many are going through the same struggle."
With the long wait, we moved to the cafe inside the clinic to wait for our turn. After waiting for 2 hours, we were finally called for the consultation.
"The tests show Bart's condition is quite bad. We need to start treatment as soon as possible."
The results were worse than those from the previous clinic we visited. Additionally, considering my age, it seems necessary to visit this clinic several times a month. Previously, Bart had been quite down after hearing the results, but this time he felt differently. He had heard that a senior colleague had gone through a long treatment and finally had a child, which made him want to try harder.
"I'll talk to my boss and try to make it to the hospital as much as possible. It might be tough, but will you work through this with me?"
"Of course, let's do this together." Our first appointment at the clinic is in a week, but the problem was Casey. If we were going to start serious treatment, I'd need to take time off work. We couldn't keep this from Casey any longer. When we got home, we immediately explained to her that we were going to start fertility treatments. However, "Fertility treatments? That must cost thousands of dollars, right? You really are a failure as a wife if you can't have a child without all this." She assumed the infertility issue was my fault as soon as she heard the word. "Hold on, Casey. It's true that fertility treatments involve both of us, but the issue isn't with me." I wished Bart would just tell Casey outright that he was the reason, but maybe because of his pride, he couldn't bring himself to say it. "So, will these treatments guarantee a boy? If you end up having a girl after all this, I won't forgive you." "Casey, I can promise many things, but I can't control that. A boy or a girl, either would be our precious child." But Casey didn't believe me. On the contrary, her demands for a grandchild only escalated. She started buying all sorts of things that she heard were good for fertility. Listen, Rebecca, a neighbor told me about this herbal medicine that's supposed to be good for infertility. Just try it, will you? Not again, Casey. Just the other day, you bought all sorts of strange figurines and amulets because they were good for fertility. And please stop telling the neighbors about our infertility. It's embarrassing. Ever since she talked to the neighbors about our infertility, Casey started receiving various things. A mysterious herbal medicine for infertility from the wife next door. A letter from a famous fortune teller known for fertility blessings from the wife across the street. Strange figurines from friends. You need to pray to this figurine every morning and evening. Such unhelpful advice was given. The last straw was a baffling suggestion from an uncle to visit some fortune teller, which was honestly a nuisance. What are you talking about? I bought all these thinking of you. To call that a nuisance? Can't even bear a grandchild, and now such an arrogant daughter-in-law. Casey's behavior escalated further, not seeing anything wrong in her actions. She was convinced she was doing the right thing, which was truly troublesome. The creepy figurine she placed in our bedroom without permission was just too much to bear. Anyway, please stop spending money on these nonsensical things, and don't enter our room without permission. A while later, Bart came home. Casey, displeased at being scolded by me, explained the situation to him, still insisting it was all for our sake. Can't you just stop, Mom? You're putting weird figurines in the bedroom, and everyone is talking about it. It's embarrassing when neighbors say, "Keep trying," to me. Just stop, okay? Apparently, Bart had run into a neighbor on his way home from work and felt embarrassed when they said, "Keep trying," so he hurried home. What? Everyone is just being kind to you. Can't you see that? Just leave us alone, okay? And if you don't do something about that figurine, we're going to have to leave this house. Casey didn't say anything more, seeming affected by being scolded by her son. She went to her room, looking downcast. 3 months after transferring to the fertility clinic, our treatment had not yet yielded the results we hoped for. I started having more days where the side effects of the medication made me feel so sick I couldn't work, while resting in bed because of my poor health. Just lying in bed while my son works hard outside. What are you doing? Casey, I've told you many times, don't come into our room without permission. I'm just lying down because I feel unwell. Could you maybe fix something for lunch? Well, how lazy can you be? When I was married, I still cooked even when I was sick. I wonder how your parents raised you. She even started insulting my parents, which really angered me. I think it's wrong to insult my parents. Let me ask you, did your parents teach you it's okay to enter people's rooms without permission? Don't you think that's wrong? Casey, not expecting me to say something like that, looked surprised, but then her face turned red with anger. Why should I be spoken to like this by my daughter-in-law? How dare you? Who do you think you are? Angry, Casey started berating me, turning the situation into a bit of a mess. Please, I'm really not feeling well. Just leave my room, please. I managed to end the conversation and usher Casey out of the room. Outside the door, Casey was still making a ruckus. Why do I have to go through all this? I love Bart, but I can't stand Casey's treatment anymore. The word divorce started floating in my mind. A few days later, Bart made a suggestion to me. It was about using a sperm bank. A sperm bank? Why are you bringing this up all of a sudden? I was honestly surprised, as we had never discussed this before. Bart began to explain his reasoning slow. As the doctor mentioned before, my test results are getting worse. I no longer believe that continuing treatment will result in us having children. That's why I looked into it and found out about sperm banks. I had been gathering information about infertility treatments, so I was aware of sperm banks. I understand how you feel, but I can't just say yes to this right away. Can I have some time to think about it? There was part of me that was resistant to the idea, so I asked Bart to give me some time to sort out my feelings. He agreed to wait for my answer without any sign of displeasure. Meanwhile, I pondered what to do while working. Certainly, there are many couples who have conceived children through sperm donation, and others who have adopted. But even if we decide to use it, what would our parents think? Would they vehemently oppose it? Conflicted, I decided to consult my mother. "Mom, there's something I want to talk to you about." "Oh, it's unusual for you to call. Is something wrong?" I told Mom about our infertility treatments and Bart's consideration of using a sperm bank. I thought she would strongly oppose it, but instead, she asked me, "What do you want to do, Rebecca?" "Me? I guess you must have been really troubled to call me. What do you really want to do?" Her question made me pause and think. Then I remembered something from last Christmas. Every year, lots of relatives come to our family home for Christmas. There are many children among them, running around, causing chaos. Walls end up with holes, and food gets knocked over. It's always hectic. But since Bart started coming, the kids' behavior changed. They would gather around him to play games or go outside. "Hey, let's go outside and play."
Sure, I brought a kite today. Let's go fly it in the square after this.
"Yay, awesome!" Watching Bart having fun with the children, I felt a warm smile form on my face. Bart loves kids and had always talked about wanting to be surrounded by many of them in the future. I wanted to make Bart a father, to let him hold our child in his arms. That desire grew stronger within me. Our child wouldn't be 100% biologically related to us, but that didn't matter to me. I think Bart will love and cherish any child I give birth to, even if there's no blood relation. He loves kids and is kind-hearted. That's true. He's always popular with the kids at family gatherings. They get so excited when he comes. It's clear how much he loves children. Mom, I've decided to respect Bart's wishes. We're going to try using a sperm bank. That's fine, Rebecca. What matters is not blood relation, but the bond between parent and child. She was right. Being a parent isn't just about blood relations. It's about how much you value the time spent together. That day when Bart came home, I told him I wanted to use a sperm bank. He was happy with my decision.
I'm sorry for making this so hard on you, Rebecca. I'll help as much as I can. Let's do this together.
A week later, we informed our primary physician about our decision to use a sperm bank. The doctor referred us to a facility, and we visited it later. At the facility, we received counseling and an explanation of the process. After consulting with the clinic, we were both able to use the sperm bank. Before starting treatment, we went to my parents' house to explain everything. After going through the details, my parents supported our decision without any objections. Feeling relieved, we were then faced with the biggest problem. Casey. We gave Casey the same explanation, but she opposed us vehemently. Absolutely not. I can barely accept infertility treatment, let alone a sperm bank. The grandchild will be some stranger's child. I'm totally against it.
Hey, what are you saying to Rebecca? This is our decision, not for you to make. Even if you oppose it, we've decided to go through with it.
Bart was really angry at her harsh words, but Casey wouldn't budge this time. I could understand Casey's feelings to some extent. In her youth, infertility treatments might not have been common, so it's understandable that she might not fully grasp the concept. But still, her earlier comment was so hard to accept. It was natural for Bart to be furious, but that didn't mean we could stop our treatment. I understand your feelings, Casey, but this is our issue, and we won't stop even if you oppose it. We just wanted to report it as a family matter. After conveying this, we returned to our room. The next day, Casey took an unbelievable action. She spread a false rumor to our relatives that I was pregnant with a child from an affair. A shocked relative called Bart to verify the facts, and that's how we discovered what she had done. We hadn't even conceived yet. Of course it wasn't true. We explained that we were undergoing infertility treatment. Fortunately, Bart's relatives knew us well and understood I wasn't that kind of person. When we got home, Bart understandably confronted Casey. I didn't know what was happening until Bart explained it to me. How could you tell such a terrible lie? I couldn't believe it and asked why she did it. Apparently, she was upset about the treatment we were planning. I had told her we were considering using a sperm donor. Casey was shocked at the thought of a grandchild not carrying her son's genetics and was vehemently against the treatment. She couldn't stand the idea of a grandchild unrelated to her. After being scolded by Bart, Casey turned on me, crying.
It's all because you didn't get pregnant soon enough. I can't believe a woman can't do such a basic thing. You should just leave this house.
In the end, she told me to leave. Is that so? I understand. I'm tired of dealing with you anyway. I'll do as you say. And so I decided to leave my in-laws' house. I arranged a new place to live and started packing whenever I had time. Casey seemed pleased that the troublesome daughter-in-law was leaving. Look, Rebecca, I bought a steak today. You won't be able to enjoy such delicious steaks anymore. Eat up, don't be shy. Thank you. I'll eat it later in my room. Bart, how about we go out to eat later? Now that Rebecca is leaving, we'll have more space in the house.
Yeah, in a way, we'll have more space.
Casey seemed genuinely happy to have her son all to herself in the house. She had already made a reservation at a restaurant just for her and Bart. Casey was so happy about my leaving that she even started humming a tune. I responded to Casey's sarcasm with a smile. Knowing my time in this house was limited, her words no longer affected me. In fact, I felt relieved to be leaving the source of my stress. Casey's stress could even negatively impact our treatment. Infertility treatments are expensive, and the cost only increase with more attempts. I hope to conceive with as few treatments as possible. On moving day, the moving truck arrived at the house. The movers began loading our belongings. Casey, thank you for everything. We're leaving now. As I said this, Casey's previously happy expression changed drastically. Wait, what? Why is Bart going too? I thought only you were leaving. She had mistakenly assumed that only I was moving out, even though there's no way that could be true. Bart, tired of Casey's comments and behavior, had already been considering living separately. Seeing the opportunity, he had quickly arranged for our new place. Casey, shocked, begged Bart to stay, but he refused, saying he couldn't bear to live with her anymore. Casey repeatedly called us, pleading to come back, but Bart remained firm.
I can't live with a mom who doesn't understand infertility treatment, and I can't forgive what you said to Rebecca, Mom. Please stop contacting us.
Wait, please listen to me. Don't leave me alone. After hanging up, Bart blocked Casey's calls. Though I felt sorry for her, I couldn't agree with Casey's words and mindset. Casey, now cut off by her beloved son, must be feeling desperate. Relatives said she had been asking everyone about our new address, but no one knew. She seemed completely worn out. Time passed, and we were blessed with the arrival of a baby boy, the very thing Casey had longed for. Meeting our son, I felt grateful for choosing the sperm bank, despite the time and money spent. But since we had cut ties, we couldn't let Casey meet him. Initially, we only informed Bart's relatives over the phone about the baby's birth. However, Casey eventually heard about our newborn. Desperate to meet her long-awaited grandson, she somehow found our apartment and showed up one morning, pounding on the door. begging you. Just let me see my grandson, even for a moment. I know he's born, and he's the boy I've been waiting for."
How did you even find this place? I'm not letting you meet him, no matter how much you make a scene. Please leave. That's right, Mom. You called him a child of a stranger. Why would we let someone who said that meet him? But even after we said that, Casey didn't calm down. She probably wouldn't leave until she saw her grandson's face. Moreover, it was 7 a.m. Causing such a commotion so early in the morning would bother the neighbors. That's when it happened.
"Quick, the building manager! Despite all the noise, there's no response from my son and daughter-in-law. There's a newborn baby. It could be a serious matter."
Understood.
In the midst of our hesitation, she called the building manager to open our door, claiming an emergency. Once we opened the door, she barged in. "Where's my baby, my grandchild?" She tried to take our sleeping child. "Stop it! What are you doing?" "Shut up! I'll raise him. He shouldn't be raised by someone like you." Bart, furious at her attempt to take our child, and the manager, who was shocked, intervened.
Enough, Mom. There are things even a mother shouldn't do. If you keep causing a scene, I'll call the police.
The threat of police made Casey leave reluctantly. We decided to move to a new place, with better security, a high-rise with a concierge to prevent her from easily getting in. Casey did try to find us and showed up at the high-rise, but was mistaken for a suspicious person and reported to the police. After being taken to the police station twice, she seemed to have learned her lesson. We no longer receive requests from Casey to meet the grandson. Relatives say Casey has become despondent, regretting her words to me. "If only I hadn't said those things that day, I could be living with my grandchild now. I want to go back to those days." She reportedly says this daily. Meanwhile, we're enjoying parenting, free from Casey's stress. Our newborn child is truly adorable, just like an angel. When we smile at him, his laughter in response is indescribable. Seeing Bart play with our son confirms our decision was right. We're glad we went through with the infertility treatment. Parenting is challenging, but we're committed to making our child happy together.
"Ugh, you're all sweaty and dirty. Cool off instead of getting angry."
Cecily, my sister-in-law, sneered at me with a nasty smile. She's a mean-spirited woman who looks down on me. That day, as per Cecily's demand, I cooked in the hot summer kitchen. But suddenly, she grabbed a cold beer, popped the tab, and poured it over my head. The white foam blinded me. I am Malia, a 36-year-old housewife. I've been living with my parents-in-law and my husband Marcus for 10 years now. We married young, with little money, and leaned on my kind parents-in-law. We encouraged each other to save and show our gratitude, but a few years ago, my mother-in-law Marley's health worsened, and I ended up handling most of the household chores. Our relationship with the parents-in-law is good, and we support each other in our daily lives. It's tough managing the house and taking Marley to her appointments, but we all work together. I find fulfillment in my busy life, but now I have a concern. It's about Cecily and her husband Smith, who occasionally visit. Cecily is my sister-in-law, and Smith is her husband. They have no children and plenty of disposable income. Smith works hard at a major publishing company, earning a high salary. They live a flashy life, sparing no expense on fine dining, travel, and gifts. Each time they visit, they dislike our outdated home and book a luxury hotel instead. To us, it's a peculiar situation, but we dismiss it as them having different values. However, what's confusing is their arrogant behavior and endless boasting afterward. Every time Cecily enters our house, she starts complaining with a frown.
"This place is so old-fashioned. You've lived here for years and nothing's changed."
She says they stay at hotels for comfort. Smith just stands by, not agreeing or disagreeing.
Hey, Malia, are you listening? Or can't you imagine a life so different from yours?
Yes, I'm listening. I'm sorry, Cecily. Cecily openly talks about their lavish lifestyle and becomes unhappy if she doesn't get a reaction or praise from me. We also don't have children. But we avoid wasteful spending due to concerns like Marley's health. It's evident that she feels superior by looking down on our simple lifestyle. But Cecily's visits are few, only during summer or Christmas, so we manage. Even so, I've always felt complicated about these visits. I was dissatisfied with Cecily's attitude, but I thought I had to cherish her because she was family. That summer, Cecily called me out of the blue, starting with a criticism that the gift I sent last year was cheap.
Last year's gift? It was kind of cheap, wasn't it? I need a little more effort from you, or it's just not exciting for us.
Despite her gentle tone, Cecily's words were harsh. I thought it was a usual call, but that remark made me tense up. Reluctantly, I decided to make my next gift more luxurious to meet Cecily's expectations. I sent her cookies from a high-end department store, but a few days later she called to complain again.
But a bigger box would have been better, you know? Smith likes these flavors, right? This little isn't enough.
I was momentarily at a loss for words with Cecily. I had researched and chosen these premium cookies, sent them with all my heart, only to be shocked by her selfish response. Is the size of the gift really the measure of joy? I answered, I see, but I was a bit stunned. Then Cecily went on to tell me about their summer visit. Indeed, it was the right time for a homecoming notification. Cecily usually decides everything at the last minute, but this time, she had a lot of requests out of the blue.
Right, I don't want the usual food. Absolutely no pizza. How about seafood and steak?
Seafood?
Yes, shrimp and fish. Oh, but only the expensive big shrimp. Don't go cheap this time. We're coming home after all.
All these demands laid out. Surprised at Cecily's audacity, I took notes of her requests. I thought it would be the usual, but just in case, I asked if they were staying at our house. What about the room?
Oh, no need. Smith and I will stay at our usual hotel. Don't worry about us. I've already left home, plus, I don't want to sleep in that musty bed of ours.
Cecily acted as if she didn't want to impose on her parents' home. But then, what's with all these detailed lunch requests? Does she think she can do anything to me? Rather than a sister-in-law, I feel like a live-in housekeeper at my parents' house. As their visit approaches, my head aches with dissatisfaction. Still, I have no choice but to try my best to meet her demands. If I get through this, I'll have peace for half a year. Until the day arrived, I prepared the guest room in case they suddenly decided to stay, cleaned the house to avoid any criticism, and finally arranged for the high-quality shrimp she wanted. Amidst these busy days, the day of Cecily's visit arrived in no time. But the couple who said they would arrive before noon did not show up. Malia, can't you get in touch? Should I call the hotel? Marley asked me anxiously time and again. Cecily must think a little delay is no problem. As for me, I was concerned about the seafood. I thought about cooking some of it in advance, but Cecily had specifically told me the day before.
I want it freshly cooked, so start grilling when we arrive.
So I had agreed to wait and couldn't do anything. Even at noon, Cecily hadn't shown up, and we all waited hungrily, trying to calm Marley. Finally, Cecily arrived around 3 p.m. Without any notice for being late and barely greeting, she hurriedly said to me,
Hey, I'm hungry. What about the food? You were supposed to prepare it. Hurry up.
Confused by her surprising attitude, I headed to the kitchen. Marley was angry about not being informed of the delay and scolded Cecily, but Cecily seemed unconcerned, just brushing it off with a,
Yeah. There weren't any immediate problems, so I focused on cooking, trying to maintain a pleasant atmosphere.
By the way, where's Smith? I thought he was coming with you.
Ah, Smith. He partied too much at the hotel bar last night and didn't wake up, so I left him there. He's probably still sleeping, isn't he? I had prepared extra food expecting Cecily's husband Smith to join. It was okay for me to cook less, but Cecily probably drank a lot last night too. Every time she spoke, I could smell the alcohol, and I turned my face away. I stood in the hot kitchen, grilling a lot of seafood. Cecily, of course, didn't help me with the cooking. Instead, she rummaged through the fridge saying, "I'm so hungry," and took out ice cream and beer. "I missed the hotel's breakfast buffet, so I had to come here. Oh, and Malia, that's too much oil. I'd be happier if you cooked it a bit better." I inwardly sigh at Cecily's comments, but still, I can only respond with a forced smile. "I hope you're not feeding oily food to the elderly mom and others." I usually use healthy oils. I'll cook better next time. Enduring Cecily's critical gaze, I did my best to finish the cooking. Marley, who has trouble walking, was sitting down, but she apologized every time I brought food on a large plate. I tried to get Cecily to help, but she was busy with her ice cream and casually turned on the TV. I didn't expect much from her, but her attitude towards Marley bothered me. Marcus and my father-in-law tried to help, but they're not used to cooking, and it was dangerous in the hot summer kitchen with boiling water and hot pans. In the end, I had to do most of it myself. I wore light clothes, but by the time I finished cooking, my shirt was drenched in sweat. I enjoy cooking, but grilling seafood continuously was an experience I'd rather avoid.
There's not a single shrimp.
After a bit of cleaning, I came out of the kitchen to the living room. Marcus helped bring the chilled beer, but the seafood that was supposed to be on the big plate was obviously less. Not a single one of the expensive shrimps was left. "Oh, that was all? It's okay to have oily food once in a while. It was so delicious. I guess I snacked too much." At some point, Cecily, with her neatly manicured bright red nails, was picking at the leftover shrimp tails. Her gluttony and selfishness in eating everything made me furious. That shrimp was expensive, and my parents-in-law were looking forward to eating it together. Cecily ruined it and didn't seem to care at all. Exhausted and angry, I finally said something I usually wouldn't. "I prepared the seafood and steak for everyone to enjoy together. Eating it all by yourself is just selfish." My voice was tinged with irritation. Frustration from the constant troubled relationship and pent-up grievances had built up inside me. Cecily looked a bit surprised at my outburst and retaliated with her own words. "Are you serious? I don't get it. You're the selfish one for getting angry all of a sudden. Just a housekeeper-like wife who can only do housework. I just snacked because it was delicious. Why am I wrong? Why are you angry?"
Cecily's tone heated up, and everyone around us just watched us bewildered. I glared at her, not backing down, and Cecily suddenly laughed. She looked down on me with a triumphant smile that made me flinch. Cecily picked up a can of beer from the table. She pulled the tab, letting the fizzing sound echo.
"Thanks for cooking. Cool off instead of getting angry. See, it's cold and feels good, right?"
Cecily then deliberately poured the beer over my head. The can turned upside down, and the white frothing liquid poured down on me. I was speechless, frozen, unable to move. Because of that, I ended up receiving all the beer Cecily poured.
"Cecily, what are you thinking?"
Marley screamed in shock. Marcus hurried to intervene and took the can away, but it was already empty. I can smell the sour beer-like odor rising from my whole body. I even taste its bitterness in my mouth.
My parents-in-law and husband Marcus were scolding Cecily, but my mind went blank, and I couldn't remember what they were saying. Cecily, with her face flushed red, glared at me despite being blamed by everyone. It seemed like she didn't care about being scolded or my retorts. She just raised her voice hysterically and yelled, "What's the problem? Making a big deal out of such a small thing. The crazy one is this woman." Cecily remained defiant, offering no excuses or apologies. Instead, she tried to open another can of beer. Marcus shielded me so she couldn't pour it on me. Instead, she spilled the beer into my bag and fled the house as if escaping. We were all stunned by her sudden change, too shocked to react. Father-in-law tried to chase after her, but couldn't catch up and came back after a while. Marcus comforted me by rubbing my shoulders, and Marley apologized to me in tears. After days of being tormented, both my belongings and I were drenched in beer. Cecily's visit only brought chaos, and it didn't end there. The next day, Cecily was dragged to our house by her husband Smith. For some reason, her face was swollen and red, as if she had been bruised.
"Malia, I'm truly sorry about yesterday. The stuff in your bag? I can't apologize enough for ruining your illustrations."
Smith apologized deeply. In reality, I work as an illustrator from home. I draw meticulously on paper and color with watercolors, not digitally. I usually get small commissions through social media from individuals and authors. However, this time, for the first time, I had received a major project through a publishing house, requested by a renowned author for illustrations. That project was with the large publishing company where Smith works. In a few days, I was scheduled to have a meeting at that publishing house. I had been finishing several illustrations to present there, but they were all ruined by the beer spilled yesterday. The watercolor paintings were smeared by the beer, making it impossible to restore them to their original state. The beer spill was not just a psychological shock to me, it also jeopardized my participation in an important project. Afterward, I remembered the meeting and immediately contacted Smith. Since he was the one who connected me with the famous author, he was shocked and panicked when he heard what happened. The illustrations were ruined, so the meeting was canceled. Smith, already stressed from a hangover, had a big argument with Cecily when she returned to the hotel.
"What have you done? You've ruined everything."
"That woman's not that important, right? Why does everyone always protect her?"
"What about my position at the company? The author finally liked it. It had to be that illustrator."
Cecily, having drunk again, got even more emotional and started wreaking havoc in the hotel room. She tore down curtains, knocked over the TV, and, in the process, fell and hit her face on a chair. We were shocked by her behavior at home, but the hotel incident left us all speechless. Naturally, the hotel demanded full compensation. The couple agreed to pay, avoiding police involvement. Then Cecily was dragged by Smith to apologize to me. He not only wanted her to apologize, but also had a request for me. Incredibly, he asked if I could finish the illustrations by tomorrow, as the meeting was rescheduled. I was dumbfounded and simply said, "Impossible." It wasn't something that could be done in a day.
"Just a draft will do. You can detail it later. That will satisfy the author."
But as the victim, I had no reason to compromise. Smith's disregard for my work only added to my unease. When I refused, Smith started yelling at Cecily, and they both began to apologize. But there was no way I could do it in a day. Despite only needing more time to resolve the situation, I couldn't understand why I had to rush to meet the rescheduled appointment. When I expressed my unwillingness to compromise and the impossibility of the task, Smith's face fell with disappointment. A heavy silence hung between us. But the next moment, Cecily suddenly flew into a rage, charging at me, and the situation escalated. "You stupid woman! Even after I apologize deeply, you can't do this?" Surprised by her outburst, I instinctively stepped back, lost my balance, and fell. As I fell hard, my hand struck the floor painfully. I grimaced as the abrasion on my palm bled, feeling a dull pain. Smith and my father-in-law restrained Cecily, while Marcus quickly grabbed his mobile phone. This was clearly an assault, and he called the police. Although I had no pain other than in my wrist, the police soon arrived, and we all took turns explaining what happened. Once they understood it was a family dispute, they warned Cecily sternly and explained to me how to file an assault case before leaving. Feeling humiliated, Cecily and her husband did not make any further demands on me. After the police left, I went to the hospital with Marcus. My wrist was badly swollen, but fortunately, it was only a sprain. However, I was advised to avoid heavy lifting and household chores for a while. Of course, drawing or holding a brush was strictly off limits. This incident made Marley feel a great sense of responsibility, so I tried to stay cheerful and helped with whatever house chores I could. In my workroom, unfinished illustrations lay dormant. With the delay in delivery, my planned deadlines were significantly missed. Unable to complete the work I had accepted, my income decreased. I considered claiming compensation for medical expenses and damages from Cecily. The physical pain and impact on my work caused by her were clear, and compensation was necessary. Despite Marley's anxiety, I eventually decided to take legal action. There was an author who kept faith in me as an illustrator. The author, curious about the sudden changes in our meetings, contacted me. When I revealed the beer incident, the author was furious. "Such treatment of a creator." The author threatened to leave the publishing house and cancel the upcoming book, causing a stir. Fans and media inquiries flooded in, and the publishing house faced an emergency response. Cecily's beer spill caused significant damage. Word spread that my injury was caused by Cecily, leading to another major uproar. Apparently, Smith had explained my injury in the company as a result of the illustrator's lack of self-management. Sister-in-law is a top-notch illustrator, so business deals will be a breeze from now on. Smith had been boasting about me within the company, confidently stating so to his colleagues. People around him believed his words and seemed to respect me. My skills were highly regarded within the publishing company, but Smith was leveraging this for his own gain. When Cecily's causing of the injury and Smith's attempts to hide it all came to light, their actions were seen not only as a disregard for writers and creators by the employees, but also as an attempt to cover up inconvenient truths, leading to Smith's demotion and salary cut. And then, a significant rift developed in Cecily's marriage, eventually leading to discussions of divorce. Unable to bear the burden of compensation for the hotel and the claims for damages, and the collapse of her marriage, Cecily tearfully begged to return to her parents' home. But my parents-in-law consistently rejected this proposal. Marley, who usually appeared anxious, was resolute this time, firmly turning Cecily away. "You always cause such trouble and don't help with housework when you're here. We don't need you. Live your life as you wish alone." Father-in-law, my husband, and I all agreed. Cecily was quickly turned away. Some time has passed, and now Cecily is working at a hotel. This hotel is known for its strict owner, and Cecily is reportedly having her customer service attitude and entire lifestyle thoroughly reformed. With nowhere to escape, it seems like a fitting situation for her. My wrist fully healed. I started a new series in a magazine with a prominent author. As the illustrator, with the support of my family, I regained a stable income. During my recovery, I dedicated myself to input which has now filled me with fresh creative energy. An illustration I created caught the attention of a major corporation, leading to a lucky opportunity to design product packaging. The illustration that led me to this new project was one featuring Marley's smile. When I enhanced it, it became widely popular as a design appealing to everyone. I have to go see it in the stores. Despite her reluctance to go out since her foot injury, Marley insisted on seeing it. While I felt a bit embarrassed, Marley's smile made me happier. We're now planning an outing for the four of us, including my parents-in-law.